Me, you, Chris, Lisa. Hey, Lisa, Jeff, and Brian. I think there's six of us.
Callaway. I have you, Bloom, me, Ted Key, who doesn't count for the quorum because I'm here. Um, Glusevich and
Lisa, did you say Lisa Murphy?
I did not. There she is. Hi, Lisa. And Chris Fox is here. Okay, we're fine. I'm assuming iPhone 2, Christina, is not somebody who's on the NCAC I need to count.
No, I don't know. But if you are iPhone 2, let us know.
I don't think so. It's never happened before.
Okay. All right, cool. Well, it's 6 o'clock and we have Jim here. Oh, there's Berkey. Jim is here. Bruce is out tonight, so he will be. Oh, and there's John. He'll be speaking to all things county. So, all right. Well, I think we can get started. Treasurer's report. Ted Key, do you want to go ahead and then we can kind of approve agenda minutes and treasurer's report all together?
Yeah, that'll be great. You'll only see on my treasurer's report that I've listed the current balance and a service charge. I spoke with the bank today, and we did not receive service charges for the first 3 months during the changeover from Pacific Premier to Columbia, which is really a good thing. I also managed to reorient our checking account to a business, a nonprofit business account, which means that we will no longer have to worry about being below certain limits for service fees. When we changed over from Pacific Premier to Columbia, we were still stuck in another tier up of checking accounts that would require a balance of $23,000 in order to maintain a zero service charge amount. So the good news is that they have changed that over, and our service fees will no longer be applicable. Christina and I have had a conversation. She and Brian and I are going to need to go over all of the changes that we're going to be making for the IT support, et cetera, for next year. So when we get the documents together for submission for next year's budgetary request, we will certainly run that past everybody so that everybody's on the same page. And Christina and I have talked about this, and it looks like mid-June when we're both back in town here, we'll get together with Brian and flesh this thing out. So that's really all I have to say about the treasurer's report today. There'll be more information, more forthcoming at the next meeting, probably. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Ted. All right. Well, then with that, the minutes are linked in the agenda and on the website. And yeah, so do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Come on, people.
I make the
All
motion.
right.
I,
Thanks,
I
Ted.
get to make a motion, don't I?
Okay, yeah, do we have a second?
Yes.
I
There's the
see Jeff
motion.
Bloom seconding, but I can't hear him, but he seconded. Hi, Jeff.
Okay.
All
Yeah,
right.
Jeff seconded. Is that
I
right?
seconded it.
Yeah.
Yes,
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you,
seconded
Jim.
it.
All right. Perfect. Then let us keep it moving on to
Well, we didn't vote.
Oh, well, any negatives?
Right.
Yeah, thanks, Karen. God, we're starting off on that note, huh? Okay. Um, and let me see. No, okay. Ted's motion passes, Karen. Thank you for
Thank
keeping
you.
us above board here. I think I saw Commander Boss.
Yes, ma'am.
Yay. Hey, how are you? And thank you for being here with us.
I'm doing well. I hope everybody else in the North Coast is doing well as well. Looking at our call stats for the month of April, we had a total of 200 calls, which is down from 242 the prior year. just looking at our call distribution of note, we had 24 preventative patrol activities and 18 enforcement stops. Just wanted to point out we had uh, 2 deputy trainees that have completed our 22-week field training program that are now released from training and are solo competent beat deputies that are going to be patrolling out of the coast station. So you might be seeing some new faces in the North Coast. Feel free to say hi. They're again just completed a 22-week field training program on top of the nearly 6-month law enforcement academy. So they've been on training for almost a year. And again, they're released from training and are providing patrol services for the coast area, including the North Coast. And that's what I got, unless anybody else has anything for me.
Oh, Ted's hands up. Go ahead, Ted.
Hi, thank you. I'm strongly thinking about taking that training. I've heard a lot of good things about it, and a friend of mine has encouraged me to do it. So I may very well, you may very well see me sign up. You know, I've been reading on the Nextdoor and other bulletin boards here about, it's a terrible frustration. If an animal gets hit or hurt, for somebody to have to sit and watch this animal slowly die, it's a horrible frustration. I had a very, very close call not long ago. I was coming home at night, driving up from Morro Bay. It was duskish, and thank God I was only going the speed limit. But out from the side of the road across the front of my car came this sprinting animal. It was not a deer and it was not a fox. I think it was a mountain lion. And I'm
Ted,
telling you,
Ted, can I interrupt you? Sorry to be
yeah.
rude, but really quick, are you sure you're meaning to direct this at the sheriff and not the highway patrol?
Well, I don't know. I guess it could be either. But it, I know it's illegal apparently for someone to end an animal's misery. I guess I don't know what the constructs for that really are, and perhaps someone in law enforcement could enlighten us to that. I mean, I don't carry a weapon in my car, but boy, that's a tough one to watch.
So the only, I mean, off the top of my head, the only applicable charge would be like cruelty to animals. However, I'd have to double check the elements of that specific section. I don't know that like a euthanasia or euthanasia. I don't know if there's a specific exemption in the penal code as it relates to animal cruelty for ending the life of an animal if they're gravely injured. So,
Yeah.
to your point, I don't think that it is a crime unless there is some other specific section that I'm not familiar with. But again, as I think of injuring an animal
Yeah.
intentionally, the only crime that I could think of would be the penal code section for cruelty to animals. And again, I'd have to double check whether or not there's an
Yeah.
exception for euthanasia for a gravely injured animal, because again, that's
Yeah.
ultimately what we would do if there is a
Right.
gravely
Sure.
a gravely injured animal,
Yeah.
where it wouldn't be feasible, or it would be causing them undue suffering to wait for other services. We have protocols in place to be able to euthanize an animal that needs
Sure.
it.
Well,
But
basically,
again,
you end its life with a bullet to the head. Basically, is what you do.
yeah, which would then would be a different scenario for a public citizen, or a citizen in public. If it was if you had a concealed carry permit, I don't know what the authority pursuant to that concealed carry permit, if the authority to carry concealed pursuant to that permit would allow you to euthanize an animal.
Yeah.
Then the other circumstance would be you'd then be carrying a firearm illegally
Yeah.
in public, which then has multiple violations for
Right.
that one conduct. So potentially carrying a concealed firearm in public, carrying a loaded firearm in public, again, would potentially open you up to
Yeah.
various criminal penalties. So
Yeah.
if you did encounter a gravely injured animal, call us and we'll make an assessment as to whether or not
Yeah.
seeking medical services for the animal would
Yeah.
be appropriate, or if that would not be appropriate. Again, we have the protocols in place to euthanize an animal.
Yeah. I mean, having been on the Marine Mammal Center staff for the last decade, I'm pretty sure I know what a gravely injured animal looks
Yeah.
like. And I don't have any kind of, frankly, I don't even own a pistol. So, I don't have any kind of permit like that. But I was just wondering, because, it's hard. I really feel for, people who, accidentally have come upon that circumstance. And, that's hard. That's hard.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ted. You
Thank
guys,
you.
I appreciate it. And Commander Boss, thank you for being here.
Of course.
Any other questions for Commander Boss? All right. Have a good night.
All right. Thank you, ma'am. You too.
Okay, we are going to move on to the CHP report. Commander Januso, I think, is here. Oh, yes, I see. Is your camera off? All right, Darren's somewhere around, so we can maybe
All
give
right,
him.
I'm here. Sorry.
Hey, hi. No, you're good.
My camera's not working. I'm sorry. I've been fighting it in the background trying to get it to work. So I'm just
No,
going to be text for you tonight.
go ahead. This is
All right.
mysterious
And I
Commander.
follow up with Commander Habas is that I know of no legal authority a private citizen can euthanize injured wild animals. It's a law enforcement officer, Fish and Wildlife only. Or only at the direction of a peace officer could a civilian perform that act.
Mhm. And you'd have to have, and I'm assuming you'd have to have a carry permit anyway, right?
Well, to be at that point, yeah. Why you would? I mean, if it was on a highway, for sure, you'd be carrying a gun legally at that point.
Yeah, right. Okay, well, thanks for the clarification on that. Yeah, thanks. And also, if I may, I want to thank you very much for your assistance with my signage issue on the 46 turnouts. I'm sorry that we were unable to get to a good conclusion on that. I'll tell you, I'm most disappointed that we couldn't at least get warning signs in those areas. That's just I don't get it. So, but thank you very much for
Sure.
your intercession in that, and I know you made it a good college try. So thanks very much.
Yeah, certainly. And you're welcome for what we could do, or at least facilitate. For CHP Templeton, I just have April statistics regarding crash and enforcement, and a little notification about current operations with personnel. I'll start with our enforcement statistics. Crashes investigated in April were down slightly. That's good. Only 5 were investigated or that occurred. Those were on the highway. 2 were injury, 3 were property damage. There were no DUI or fatal collisions. Enforcement slightly up. 39 enforcement contacts made in the Cambria region along the highway and county roads. 26 citations were issued, 18 for speeding. All of those were for max speed on the highway, none on county roads, and there were no 100-mile-per-hour or plus violations. That's good. I hope to never see that along the highway out there. It's almost double the speed limit. And there were no DUI arrests compared to the one that occurred in April of last year. So overall, looks like April was peaceful. I'm always glad to see when collisions are down and enforcement is up. There is a correlation there, I believe. For current CHP operations, we just received our 100% full staffing person. That is the latest officer who reported from our CHP Academy, 21-year-old Officer Romero from the Central Valley, little town of Porterville, has been assigned to Templeton at the academy. That gives us 100% staffing, and drops our average age of personnel here down even further. It's awesome to see these guys reporting to Templeton because they're just full of energy, able to take direction, and really help facilitate our mission of providing the highest level of safety, service, and security. So he started his break-in phase. There are 4 phases of that. It'll continue for several months, and then he will most likely be working weekend graveyard shifts in the Templeton region for the rest of his career of Templeton, if he sticks around here. We are also getting a new sergeant We are currently fully staffed. We have 4 sergeants that work in Templeton, but one of our sergeants is transferring to another region of the state. And so, in a replacement, there were no transfers of other CHP sergeants around the state that want to come to Templeton. So, we will be getting a promotional sergeant. Somebody that's an officer on the sergeant's promotional list will be assigned to Templeton, and I will be providing them with mentorship and direction. So they'll be starting their sergeant career here in Templeton. I'm happy to have that too. I like mentoring new employees. But that is current operations with Templeton and our enforcement. I'm open for any discussion or questions if anybody has any.
All right, let's see. Thank you for that. And thanks for being here. I know you got to run. I don't see any hands for you. Looks like you're getting away scot-free tonight.
Okay. Well, thanks for having me tonight, Christina, and everybody there.
All right, thank you. We'll see you next month.
Good night to you all.
Good night. Okay, where is our dear Fire Chief Michael Berkey? Here you are, you made it. All right, and you're muted.
Am I muted still?
Oh, I can hear you now. Yeah, got it.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. Thanks for having me. So I'm going to start off by an apology. The report that I sent to Christina was the wrong report. So I'm going to try and do my best to mitigate that right now with an accurate report. But our report writing system has been down for the last month. So we're really trying to do our best to get this information out to you. It's still not posted on our website yet, but as soon as it's back up and I can get accurate information to you, I will do so. But for right now, I'm going to try and piece this together, so bear with me. For the month of April, we had a total of 116 incidents. We had 78 medicals, 15 false alarms, 21 public assists, and 2 rescues. 0 fires in that group. That is up from April of 2025, which we had a total of 91. So our year to date in 2025 was 355, and our year to date in 2026 is 391. So moving along into our training I don't have the residents and non-residents information that I normally have available. Again, once I get that up, I'll be able to post it on the website and for you guys to view it. But I currently don't have that. So during the month of April, the crews really focused on fireground skills and company training. Firefighter task book sign off, since we have new firefighters there, they're the safer firefighters. And then also they did a multi-agency rescue drill up at Ragged Point, which ended up proving to be beneficial because one of those rescues that I mentioned earlier was up at Ragged Point. And so a car had gone off the cliff, and our crews were able to respond up there and to provide that training, or excuse me, the rescue for the county. And then we also had our helicopter from H-70 come out, and they did a multi-day operations training. They didn't come out to Cambria. Our guys went up to their training, which was up at the Indians, up in the Monterey County area. Public interaction, we had quite a bit going on in April. Everything from an Easter egg hunt to the what I considered to be the highly successful evacuation planning meeting at the Vets Hall. We had Mike Taylor and some assistants of his come in and do what I considered to be a phenomenal presentation. For those of you that made it, I hope you agree. I thought it was highly successful. We did hand out quite a bit of our go bags, and again, there was a lot going on that day, and I think the public got a really good experience from that day. Public service assists, public service, we did 5 defensible space residential inspections, and then we also had 4 smoke detector carbon monoxide inspections. We didn't do any business inspections in the month of April. With that concludes my report. I'm open to any questions.
All right, thank you for that. I don't see any hands. Wow. The energy of the day is changing course. All right. Well, thank you for being here, Berkey. And yeah, we'll see if you want to stick around with us.
Thank you for having me.
Bye. Okay, so we're going to move on to public comment. We got Ted Key. That was a fast hand. You have something, the man has something to say. All right, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I need to briefly address the District 2 election. Earlier, I expressed my frustration regarding the placement of the supervisor's assistant. The debates and forums had been as civil disagreements between the candidates on issues that matter to the citizenry until a week ago. The name-calling, mudslinging flyers based on out-of-context comments made a decade ago by the independent candidate smack of Trumpian political tactics and are very disappointing. I attended the forum in Cayucos last Saturday. It was very well attended, and what I witnessed was Mr. Woody remaining civil and on message even after such character attacks. Frankly, a lot more civil than I would have been. Overall, this election has led me to the conclusion that partisan politics is no longer any factor in my voting decisions. The Republican Party is so far off the rails are gone. The Democratic Party, between its bungling and losing 2 presidential elections to a con man felon and kicking the young David Hogg out, left me cold prior to this contest. I have been a registered Democrat for 58 years. The fact that the Democratic Party of San Luis was okay with their candidate resorting to Trumpian political tactics has been the last straw. I'm no MAGA, sick of such behavior. Next month, I will re-register as an NPP voter. Thank you.
Okay, Katie Wasner, want to go ahead?
Sure. Hi. I wanted to speak to Mr. D'Antona this evening. I had sent an email earlier. I think you might have read it and CC'd you on it with some photographs attached. Circling back to my usual questions about the Newton Ramsey properties. And I wanted to just go, bring that back up because I am going to be the squeaky wheel here. This, I think, is my 10th meeting that I'm here to talk about this issue. And I'm adamant about keeping it in the front eyes of people here. With regard to code enforcement on the property and the multiple problems that we're having over there, I wanted to mention that there's now been an additional RV added to the property. The older one has been dragged to the side of the road and a new one has taken place on the property. I'm noticing that there are more cars parked on the dirt part of the road on Ramsey than there were before. It fluctuates, but I've noticed an increase in them. And most assuredly, a fire engine and an ambulance are not going to make it down that drive if there's an emergency. On the property, grading continues. There's also an abundance of abandoned vehicles, as many as 5 that I can see. And then I wanted to circle back to the pool permit. Is that moving along? Where are we with that? Have they hired a proper person? Have they submitted the proper paperwork to get that permitted? And the outbuilding that is on that property, there's so many multiple dwellings on that property that I'm questioning their code enforcement on that. But I do know that they're supposed to be hiring a design firm that will bring the outbuilding and the pool into code compliance. Once again, there is no fencing around the property where this pool, whatever it is, pool is. And that's a safety issue. In addition, there are loose dogs. They have dogs on the property that run around the neighborhood all the time because there's no fence on the property. I am grateful to see what I think are increasing law enforcement patrols. Every time I see a black and white, makes me happy. Keep on coming. You're more than welcome to come as often as you like. They are coming around more. So anyway, I just wanted to get an update on where we are with the various issues with that property, specifically with code enforcement. Thank you.
Thank you, Katie.
I just want to also say, Jim, please give me a reason to vote for you. Give my neighbors a reason to vote for you. We've got to see something. We want to support you, but you got to do something to show us that our support of you matters.
Thank you, Katie. Public comment and a shakedown. If we don't see any other hands, though, then we can actually move over to you, Jim, for the supervisor's report.
Great. Thank you. Yes. So, Supervisor Gibson is up at the California State Association of Counties. They're doing their big conference this week, and he's up there. So he apologizes that he couldn't be here. And so I've gotten the notes from him and some of the work we've been doing. And so I'll kind of lay that out. So first code enforcement issue, not Katie's yet, is the alley behind Maine and the southeast of Sheffield. There's a storage of electronic equipment. It's right abutting Highway 1. It's visible from Highway 1, and have been talking to some neighbors about that area. There's a camper that's back there. This is like right behind the gas station, essentially. And so Commander Abbas, I thought maybe he'd bring it up, but he had his sheriff office folks visit the person in the camper, and they are offering services to get him moved off that property because it's an alley, technically. And so there should be no one permanently stationed there, and specifically, there's no way to camp there. So they've made that connection, offered services, and so hopefully they've given him some time to get his stuff and get up out of that space. So hopefully that'll be changed soon. There's been some cleanup of the debris that exists back on that side. But the biggest piece is there's electronic equipment, kind of this big storage area of electronic equipment that needs to be removed. And according to the property or the parcel owner that has it, I think it's Chris Rodriguez. And has the company coming in next week to get all that and move that out. So code enforcement has that to circle back on. And that's kind of hopefully clearing up that backspace. It's visible from the highway, so it's not, one of the first things folks see as they're going through the area. Newton Ramsey. And I'm very sorry to say that Katie was right, that it was not that you're right. It's not sad that you're right, but that this guy was going to string us along. He's gotten code enforcement playing phone tag with him. So that gave them, it kept them chasing their tail. So late last week, I asked for the update. Where are we at? Where's the connection? And they told me that, well, we're trying to catch him. I'm like, well, yeah, he is doing this to extend the timeline. He is doing this so that you'll never catch him, right? He's going to call at 6 o'clock after you're gone, and then you're going to call him during the day, and he's never going to answer. So I said, community said this is what was going to happen, and it is happening. So I asked code enforcement to send him a letter, certified, that he is out of compliance, and he either rips out the pool or rips out the illegal dwellings or files the permit. The good news is, back when we started this, there was like 2 or 3 code enforcement officers in the code enforcement unit. They've now hired new ones. And after the conversation I had with the code enforcement supervisor who's been on this one, she has taken the case and handed it off to the brand new hires, because that person doesn't have a full caseload, to go babysit, literally stay on top of this nonstop because they don't have a full caseload. The person's not new. They're a Fresno code enforcement officer that have moved out here to join the team. So actually a lot of experience, because I did the first thing what you did, Katie, like, oh no, great. So now they're not going to know the rules and how you got it. And so the idea though is this person doesn't have a full load yet and has time to just go sit on all of these things, and not the supervisor who's trying to manage 20 or 30 cases. I was disappointed. I let the code enforcement folks know that like we said this was going to happen, and there it is. But again, our Commander Abbas and I have been talking a lot. That's, again, some of the patrols over there. They do have to have, he talks a lot about got to have probable cause to do some of that stuff, but at least showing that they're there he's hoping, put some light on the situation and if there's any illegal activities they're doing it. So I haven't gotten the letter yet, but as soon as I have the letter, I'll give you the dates of where we are in enforcement. I have the new person's name. His name is Matt. I will connect him to us so that we can stay in constant communication of the code enforcement operations. And so he was back in the office today, and the supervisor was going to sit him down and like, okay, here we go. Here's how you're going to handle this one. So I'm sad that we weren't able to deliver as fast as we could, but it hasn't gone off our radar. It hasn't gone off the supervisor's radar, and she apologized that they've let it extend that time. So hopefully, with a person who doesn't have a full caseload, they can just really hone in on this, and with a letter that says you either make these things fixed by this date or not, and we're done. Because the phone tag thing just doesn't work.
Jim, can I ask you a question?
Of course.
Because, I feel like we're always trying to get examples of different things to like work towards like more, a greater change, right? So that we can take these examples and maybe change something in the process for going forward. Would you say, I spoke to Claudia over the weekend about what was going on Main Street and then hearing, or in the alley behind on Main Street.
Right.
And Karen and I happened to get caught up back there like a week ago. But I'm wondering, like, is that an example? That sounds like more of an example of somebody working with you guys in the process. And then is this house, um, the pit house, more of an example of somebody almost like we saw with Harvey Street, like really that just knows how to work the system? And then,
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
and so, like with both of those examples now on hand, and I know it remains to be seen what happens with Main Street, well, and with the pit house, but is there any opportunity to like once this is said and done, and I do believe that this will be said and done and this will get cleaned up, that there's an opportunity to refine some of the processes so that somebody, it's kind of like all these things that people do, and then people figure out how to game the system. Like, is there any way to create change that's more meaningful so we don't always have something like this? Sorry, that was long and drawn out. I think you know what I mean.
No, what I do. Yeah. But the issue mostly comes down to, um, giving code enforcement clear direction. Because, for instance, they will go visit somebody, um, insert person A. That person gets a notice to comply, and then that homeowner calls their supervisor's office or whatever it is, and well, this is a nice person, so give them a break, right? They're trying, they're good people, and blah blah blah. And so then the code enforcement, okay, well, all right, well, I'll give you more time. And then we call and say, oh, no, 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 that's the bad guy, right? We're creating these two lists, which we shouldn't, right? If something's not working, if something's not code compliant, we should enforce. But the problem becomes on some of these. I just had this with someone on Old Creek Road, gentleman in his 70s, house is kind of falling apart. And the stairs are there, and he's like, I want to fix them all, but it's going to cost to do all the things will cost me like $50,000 to do all those upgrades, and I'll get it done. I just need time to do that. And you're like, yeah, okay, let's make sure we're staying on track. But yes, we can do that. And the key is staying on track, right? If somebody is moving it, great. The problem is what we're seeing is A, there's different rules for different people, and then B, we don't have enough people to make sure that you have a tickler file, right? Oh, I got like 80 people I need to contact on April 12th, right? And so with more staff, in theory, we should have the bandwidth that lets you stick to those timelines. So I think from our office's perspective, is from Supervisor Gibson's office, is give everybody timelines and deadlines, and these are when things, and then hold them to that. And then if there's not, let's get the thing moved to the next piece. And um, the problem is the good people will move because they'll be like, yeah, I'll get it done. And then people like Pitt who just are trying to keep it going for as long as they possibly can. You get to the next piece, which is a legal step, right? Like, okay, now we're going to start fining you daily, and we're going to start leaning your property, and we're going to keep going towards those. So creating a consistent rule for those folks, and then enough staff to handle the bandwidth of code enforcement, are the two things where I would take away from both of these scenarios.
Okay, thank you. And Jeff Bloom, do you want to go ahead? And I know we don't, I know Jim, I know you probably have more to share, so I don't want to make it all about the pits, but Jeff, go
Uh,
ahead.
yeah, hopefully there is more significant things to share. But the thing that strikes me after watching several of them is there is no final consequences. So it just spins, and it's spun on the Harvey or Hervey House, the same kind of deal where they promised, oh well, we're going to do X, Y, and Z, and then there was no follow up, and then months, actually years, went by before the fire chief actually went out there and said, hey, no, you got to satisfy the fire code, so you have to do these three or four things, and the person did them because the person was wearing a badge. And I guess the pit, I went out personally, took a look at it a while back. These should be easy code enforcement actions for building and your code enforcement officers. A pool that isn't fenced is a life safety hazard. And so, okay, well, the answer to that is a cease and desist order to empty the thing or tear it down if you haven't complied. But we never get there. It's always we're working on it. And I I understand that there's been some limitations, but what gets particularly frustrating is you apparently did a KPMG audit of your community development related departments. And the only thing Bruce really reported about out of that was, well, there were some issues with building and safety. Well, there's always issues with that because those people don't like to collect fees from people. And there was like nothing about the ineffectiveness of some of these other ancillary activities. So it says to me, well, they didn't get looked at really, or not in a meaningful way. And if you don't structurally change and reorganize this, you're not going to make any changes or make any improvements. So for what it's worth, you have to look at how it's structured, who's reporting to whom, how building and safety gets involved, and then how planning gets involved. But what I've learned, if nothing else, is there's little to no communications from one division to the next, or at least not that they'll own up to in public at our meetings. It's always, well, it's that other group, it's the engineers or it's the building staff. There's no centralized coordination of it, and that's a shame for a big department.
Well, yeah, so you're right. There are final steps, absolutely. The KPMG, what the thing that code enforcement needed was to hire, is to hire people, because trying to cover, the 3,000 square miles of SLO County with, three people that you have, just not going to work. That you just there's no way to make it work. But by hiring everybody back in or getting that staff full, hopefully at this point, we're starting to get to a point where you can actually start chopping into all these life safety issues. And again, there really is an easy, like the pool and the other off the building that's there that doesn't have a permit. That's very easy. You're just like, hey, you don't have a permit. The follow up, which is legal, is not a short process either, right? But you can start filing those things against people to get them moving, and actually get the things done. Because again, we can't we can't go in there, rip out their pool or drain their pool without their right. In case if we break it and we're supposed to keep it, whatever, like all of a sudden there's legal issues. But by creating the timelines and the steps, that's what you can hold to and get our legal teams to start filing they're really fines. Again, we can't take their property, but we can start charging them. We can start doing until it's a point at life safety where like we can go to the court and say, hey, this is why we have to go in there. And when the court says, yeah, you drained anything, because they're not doing anything to do it, then we have the authority to go onto someone's property and actually remove that, like take the water out. And if it gets ruined because they couldn't file the permitting, uh, then we're clear from doing anything illegal. So it's all it is following through on what we said we were going to do, right? And when people have gotten used to the idea that, oh, we get the first notice and we'll never see him again, that's the problem, right? And when somebody like Pitt continues like, oh, I got him on phone calls, I'm going to be good, right? We need to be right back in his face and be like, nope, you either call me back when you know I'm going to be here, or we are now taking the next step. And that's just what we have to do and be on all of those pieces. Um, and it's the process works. You just got to follow the process. And again, so one place I will say, if you've ever been down on Los Osos Valley Road, um, at almost at Foothill, there was Sunny Acre Farms
Yep.
for a very long time, which had homeless like we went through all those we got to the final process with them, which was literally in court, forcing them to sell the property so that we could actually, because it was such a disaster. So it does happen but that's a year's process, right? I meant multiple year process. You want to get that compliance, just like get in compliance, make your house not a detractor from the neighborhood. That's what we want from everybody, right? We don't want to go to the very long, drawn out process. So I absolutely agree. There's no excuse for it. It's just we've got to stick to it, and I'm going to make sure we're going to do weekly checkups because I don't want to come back here and tell Katie she's been right one more time. I want her to say we've been done. We got this, and it's moving in the right direction.
All right,
Thanks.
thank you guys. And then
Thank you very
Jim,
much. Appreciate it.
Yeah,
oh, who's that?
that's Kate.
Oh no. Oh, it was you. Okay, I see somebody else unmuted. And thank you, Katie, for being here and for continuing on the path and not giving up. Jim, did you have anything else for us, county related? Anything?
Yeah, just kind of one more because this is back to what will dictate county services and all the work that goes into it. The county budget hearings are coming up June 8th through June 10th, in order to finalize the county's budget. We're in, I think, a little better place than we were last year, but we have this very large boulder rolling down the hill at us in the form of HR1, which is the entitled Big Beautiful Bill, and that that main work of HR1 was to shift federal dollars to state county dollars to take care of like Medicaid and Medi-Cal services. So our most in need folks of healthcare are about to be dropped off the federal rolls and placed into the state, which automatically goes to the county. So part of that county state association or California State Association of Counties, where the supervisors up there today, is to work with the legislature to see they need in the next fiscal year $1 billion throughout the state to counties to help them deal with the unanticipated healthcare impacts that are about to be dropped on it. So Without that, that then puts all of the burden, if the state isn't coming in to buffer that with the $1 billion, according to the CSAC, that's what it's called, um, that could land on the county's shoulders directly. And if that happens, that puts us in a really bad budget place because then we have to provide the care that the federal government had or the state had. So, and it could be upwards of 1 million people in the state of California who fall off healthcare rolls and need to get somewhere in the safety net that counties possess, and then we're on the hook. So that's a big one coming up June 8th through June 10th. Obviously, it has major impacts on how we're going to deal with roads, how we're going to deal with building safety, how we're going to deal with code, how we're going to deal with everything in the county. So just kind of keep an ear out for that. And then we'll connect later on the CAC funding, NCAC
Yes.
funding.
Yeah. Ted and unless I need to look at it, but unless there was like a specific date that you sent, Ted and
We just need to get it in before the end of the fiscal year so that
okay,
we can do this year's
okay,
allocation, and then you have resources for next year.
okay. Thank you. And then do I see any other hands for you? No, you are off the hook as well. All right. Thank you, Jim. Okay. So, do we have John here? Yes. Slow cog. Do you want to share, John, or do you
I can um
or do
I can share
or do,
can,
is
what sort of time do I have? 5 minutes or 10 minutes? Because I have added a couple slides if you want,
oh,
or I
you
could just
did?
do these.
No. I mean, I think that people are really interested in this. I think it's super important. So if you want me to make you a co-host and you want to share with your new slides, you're more than welcome to do that.
That'd be great. I just added a couple.
Okay, hold on one second. Okay, did that work for you?
Okay. How's that?
Perfect.
Okay, great. Yeah, hey, thanks for having me. I'm Don D'Annunzio. I'm a regional transportation planner at the San Luis Obispo Council of Governments. We work with the county, the seven cities, and Caltrans on various highway, streets, and roads projects. And this plan came up through a lot of input from your community at our board and collecting petitions, etc. And then we went out and got a grant from Caltrans and are now underway with just beginning of what we're calling the Highway 1 North Coast Corridor Plan. So this project is going to study about 12 miles of highway from San Simeon to Cambria. You can see sort of at the bottom, um, really, of the map, the study area, Highway 1 and 46, all the way up to just past Hearst Castle. There's like that little creek and stuff up there. So we'll be looking at that section of the road. And the idea is to come up with community-led and kind of data-driven actionable recommendations for near-term future projects that might already be in the pipeline to prioritize them, increasing safety for everyone who travels on this road. And of course, some of the goals of this project are to better understand the wildlife patterns around and across Highway 1 to reduce the frequency and the severity of automobile collisions with wildlife. We'll also be looking at ways to enhance the safety for all road users, including bike and ped, their connectivity options, so people can get out and enjoy the coast and recreational opportunities, shop downtown, go to farmers market, etc. Yeah, I mean, just a quick sidebar. I mean, I will, with the road open again, it's pretty noticeable the amount of the traffic uptick. We were up there last Friday, and it just seems like there's more the cars are returning, and of course, with summer coming along. The third point of this project goal is to look at some of the climate vulnerabilities along the road. I didn't realize that Cambria was in a tsunami zone, that there are sections that are signposted for potential tsunamis, but also as atmospheric extremes continue, stormwater flooding, sea level rise, etc. And then, of course, involving the community in this. I know that there's two red lines here. Ignore the first one and look at the one in May. That's kind of where we are. This Gantt chart will look kind of like a typical plan that you might see with existing conditions, analysis, public engagement, feedback, etc. And just kind of orient kind of where the project team is now. We're really just getting started with the analysis portion of that. But we have been kind of working behind the scenes to gather stakeholders together, a steering group, taking stock of what information has been provided already through different plans, different photo inventories, etc. And then a key thing that I am going to mention with a slide later on is this date in June, June 10th coming up, 10th and 11th coming up. But I'll have a whole little slide on that. So, really, when we say the community has done a lot of work already, gathering 600 plus petitions, signatures, documenting your safety concerns and bringing that forward was a pretty awesome thing to do for this cause. It definitely contributed to us taking action with Caltrans, and I know that it continues. There was a comment earlier today on this discussion about increased deer activity. But we have also collected community recorded deer strikes. So up till this point, there have been individuals that have approached us that have been keeping their own records. They have shared that information with us. But of course, there are Fish and Game and Wildlife stats and Caltrans stats of that too, which we're gathering. I know that Kermit's not here, but he and others have provided a number of locations along Highway 1 of concern through this this committee. And then, we were in your community last February 2025 with safety field walks. And that methodology is what we're kind of looking to replicate. So these are some photos of those field walks, both in Cambria downtown, along the Santa Rosa Creek Road, kind of out near to the school. And then we were up in San Simeon as well. So here's kind of a slightly different picture. We're just drilling a little bit more into some of the areas that the topical areas that we're looking at with the climate exposure, wildlife conflicts. Some of the unique things about Highway 1 being a community barrier dividing the residents, across the road from beaches and shops and schools and parks. And as I was mentioning the anecdote earlier about traffic increasing, it's can get kind of hard to cross the road sometimes if you don't time it right. And so also how your streets, your community network is braided in with your side streets for different uses. If you're shopping, what kind of trip, and mixed in with tourism and visitation, the community. Uh, and then also, there's a limited number of streets in case there is an emergency. I guess it hadn't really occurred to me before that I guess during maybe the flood of 2023, the atmospheric storm 2023 or earlier, that the Highway 1 was closed, like the road flooded. And if there are other emergency events, there's really kind of only one way out. And that's an important thing to consider, depending on what part of town you're in. So I do have some asks here today, and to spread the word with your network, and I'll chat these links in just a second. But we are beginning online engagement. We are asking to share a survey. So there's two links here, and one is to kind of what you'd expect to see on a typical survey if you were like stopped in front of the grocery store to ask, like 7 easy questions about your experience. So that's one survey. And then the other is we have one of these maps where you can put down areas of concern for you, whether it be wildlife, climate, bike pace, bike ped safety, other vehicle safety, or any other kind of map to sort of drop the pin. So for those that attend these kind of workshops in person, you kind of do these on the wall or on the table. And we will be doing that, but we also wanted to gather stuff online. And it was also a chance for us to show some of the input that we have received thus far on a map, so that those community members who gave us information can kind of see that we have recorded it. So here's the project website. It's highway1northcoastplan.com. You can find all the information about the plan and where we are at that web link. You can also RSVP for the at Cambria Vets Hall on June 10th. I think that's a Wednesday night from 5 to 7. We'll be having the first public workshop. And with that, that is the end of my presentation.
Thank you, John. It looks like we have a couple of hands up, and I'm just going to skip the line quickly and ask you if, how important is getting those survey responses to the process?
I appreciate that question. Very important. We really need to know what you know, and we have the limited ability. I mean, although I live here in the county, and others on the team do, we don't know the daily experience up there, and so the truth is we don't know how bad it is, frankly. And so we need to figure that out, and we have a sense of it, but the more information we have from a variety of people, the better the results will be.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Looks like Ted has a question. Go ahead, Ted.
Hi, John. Thanks very much. I met with your representatives at the farmers market last Friday. They were doing a really good job. And I'm going to fill out myself and my wife will fill out that survey shortly. Um, One of the things that I brought forward, and I'm just going to put this out in front of everybody. I don't know. I've been brainstorming a little bit about the problem here with Highway 1 and where Main Street intersects Windsor. We commonly refer to it as the spaghetti bowl. And I was thinking about it for quite a while because when I leave Park Hill area, so many people are turning in front of me from Main Street headed south on Highway 1. It's like they think they have left of way or something. I'm just going to put this out there. I've thought for a while that a roundabout in that intersection would be a good solution from a number of respects. The oddball nature of everything coming in there for one, the traffic light nightmare that the guys have to come up and deal with. I've seen them on many occasions. And I'm just thinking that in terms of traffic flow and traffic speed, that roundabout maybe similar to what you see at the intersection of 46 and Vineyard might be something that people could be thinking about. I know that the people over in Templeton flat out rejected a roundabout over there on Vineyard. So there may very well be money available for that sort of a project. So I just thought I'd put that out there, and I will probably be not probably I would like to attend your June 10th event. So thank you very much for all you're doing.
Thank you, Ted. Karen, do you want to go ahead?
Yes, thanks. I just want to ask John if on this website, highway1northcoastplan.com, will this presentation be there also?
Mm, Not yet.
John,
Yeah.
if you send it to me, Karen, it's on our website right now linked, but I'll update it with the extra slides that you
Well,
sent.
and what I'm interested in is the additional pages that he included, because I printed the link that you provided, but John had new stuff tonight. That's what I'm after.
Yeah. Yes. John, you'll get us the new stuff.
I can get that to you. I realized as I was waiting that, seeing the Gantt chart and maybe seeing some of the more information would be useful. So I took that from a presentation that we gave to the steering group. So there's about 12 members. Some are in your community that are part of the, somebody from Friends of Piscalini, et cetera, are part of that group. So I took some of the slides out of that to share it wider, just to give you a little bit more context. And of course, I will provide that.
Thank you. Thank you. But you know what? I'm just thinking for purposes of the minutes, I think if I just direct readers of the minutes to that website, that's going to be sufficient information for people, right?
I think so. Well,
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
that and
I'll do it that way.
additionally, the event at the Vets Hall and the survey, I think would be great for people.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Karen. Christine, do you want to go ahead? Oops, you're muted. Let me see if I can ask you to unmute.
Here we go. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hi. John, I just, wanted to thank you so much for what you've done and what you're doing and how badly it is needed and has been needed in our community for a long time. So everything that you're doing to make our community safer, I just really appreciate it.
I'm happy to. I'm glad that you raised this as an issue. For the longest time in SLO County, we're looking at collisions with wildlife strikes over Cuesta Grade, which we've known about for a long time. Bear getting hit up there, and then also the 46 in York Mountain Road, which is same community. If you shop in Templeton, you're driving the 46, and York Mountain Road is another pretty bad hot spot. And nobody wants to hit an animal or wreck their car. I remember learning to drive. If you see sometimes a dog runs out, like unfortunately you might have to hit the dog. It's a horrible thing, but young drivers don't know stuff like that. They don't yet have the skills. And you'd hate for somebody to go off the road swerving out of the way of an animal. So of course.
Thanks, Christine, and thank you, John. Jeff, do you want to go ahead?
Thank you. Hey, John, one thing that strikes me is a lot of our usage on Highway 1 is, of course, from people out of the area or our occasional visitors. It would be good, I think, to get the word out about the survey on some of the tourism-oriented websites and perhaps things like Cambria Currents and some of the social media based ways that people keep in touch with what's going on in Cambria and San Simeon. And maybe to that and there's something associated with the Hearst Castle and the state's efforts that could be tapped into as well. Because I mean, we can, the number of residents here using that is probably a small fraction of the total when Highway One's actually open. So if we're really trying to, get a wide range of views expressed, it would be probably a good idea to look into those other sort of non-traditional locations to get the survey out.
Definitely. Yeah. Thank you for that input. I was not familiar with Cambria currents, but I'll pass that on to the team. And I'm personally not a social media whiz, but we do have a couple on the team, and that's where it's at. There's no question the communication that way. And I do have one other ask of if it's possible for me to ask is we're trying to find a really cool teacher, somebody in your community that next fall might be able to that might be teaching students, that might be able to integrate this project into like an elementary school or junior high or even high school curriculum so that we can get some of the students involved at your schools in a really interactive way, right? Because it's not just deer, there's a lot of different animals and et cetera, like that. So if anybody can connect our team, I know that Christine had some inroads there, but if anybody can connect our team to the vice principal or like a teacher that might be able to take this on, and that'd be great. We might even have a little bit of budget for like materials and stuff like that for classrooms.
Okay, and John, just to clarify, so we can all have our thinking caps on, in terms of any sort of curriculum, like would that be centered around like wildlife habitat and safety or circulation, transportation, or what do you kind of envision? So we,
Yeah, wildlife and wildlife and safety, wildlife in the road, wildlife habitat, ecology, living ecology. And frankly, there's a really great exhibit down at Union Station in LA at the moment, right in the train station, that all these kids in LA, they had all these examples of dealing with the coyotes and stuff that migrate all over LA that captivated me. And I thought we ought to try to bring that into this, into our project.
yeah, that'd be awesome. I saw this morning that a mountain lion was hit, I think in the valley, maybe Studio City or something. It's just always heartbreaking. And I don't want to throw anybody on the spot, but Lisa Murphy happens to be a teacher, so, and a teacher of ecology, if I'm not messing it up. So maybe, yeah, you
Oh,
guys can connect as well.
written your name.
Can I jump in,
Yeah, go
Christina?
ahead. Yeah, sorry.
Um,
My apprentice has been waiting. Go ahead.
um, John, I can connect you with Jill Southern, the superintendent from Cambridge Unified, and so we're working on a project together. So I can get you connected with her, the principal, and then perhaps we can get working on that angle. So if you send me a list of some of the things and topics, curriculum that you would want covered, I can connect with her and we can make that happen.
Awesome. Thank you, Matthew.
You got it.
All right, mover and shaker. And then John also, yeah, just feel free to email us. Like you have an idea or you need something connected. Know that we're always open to that. And I think everybody here is always happy to connect people for good causes. So yeah, we're here and we just appreciate the work you're doing and for being here tonight. So thank you. Does anybody else have anything for John? Oh, Lisa, yes. Okay, go
She
ahead. Go
dropped my
ahead.
name.
Yes.
We have I'm doing a camera survey for 2 months in the fall. And we've incorporated that into a class at Cuesta College, there where we'll have somewhere between 4 and 10 students coming and working on projects up here in Cambria. And so it might be something that we could incorporate into that class Not I think it should be coming from a lot of different angles, not just from one thing. So I think following up with Matthew on the superintendent and figuring out where all it can go. But I'd love to hear more information, connect and hear more of what you'd like to know or see. And I'd be happy to start working on seeing if we can incorporate into that class in the fall.
Perfect. Yep, now's the time.
Yay. Okay. I'm like way too excited about this. Something good has happened. John, thank you. I don't see any other hands. So just, yeah, thanks for sticking this out with us. I know we went long a little earlier. So, and then just be in touch and I'll make sure you and Lisa are on an email or we can just start a thread about it. Lisa and Matthew and John, if you guys want. All right. Okay. All right. Well, then we're going to move on if you're cool with that, because I think Claudia is here and has something to share with us. And Claudia, your the event flyer is linked in the agenda and on the website. So are you there though?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, this is really weird. I'm at another meeting and I'm at the back of the room. So I'm going to talk kind of soft. Yeah, so I can't see anything at the moment. I'm kind of trying to do two things at once. But so anyway, I can see you, Christina. Oh, good. So I know that somebody's out there. So, okay, so what I want to talk about, and that was on the link, is our West End mural project. Right?
No. I linked to the street fair, but I can additionally link to the West End mural project. Yeah, I have that flyer as well.
Okay, so let me talk about the pollination event, the Pollinator Palooza. This is the first year we've ever done it. Can you hear me if I talk like this, or is it? Can you hear me?
Karen's shaking her head. We can. It's a little.
I can hear Claudia, but it's very distracting because we hear the meeting also.
Okay,
Yeah.
so let me see if I can go outside. I'll tell you, I'm trying to get enough power to do this. I've only got 2 bars. Okay, hang on. I'm so sorry to do this, but that's what I get with I have 4 meetings at the same place. Okay, I'm good. Okay, now is it better?
Yeah.
And you can hear, okay, and I can talk up a little bit. So, and I can turn my thing down. Okay, so the pollinator event is amazing. Things just keep mushrooming and more people keep coming forward. But we got 4 groups of people going to be dancing down the street. We've got the Dancers by the Sea flash mob group. They're going to be putting together a dance. My jazz class is going to be doing a performance. We have an 11-year-old who is going to make wings with her using her airbrush, and she's going to get a group of kids going to be dancing down the street. And then we have Lisa Deo dances. She's a professional dancer, so she's going to come with a couple of friends and do some dances. The booths are going to be arranged in curves because it's a pollination event, so people are going to be dancing down the street, kind of curving down the street, and it's just, I don't know. I don't know how to tell you how exciting this is. I wish I could put my face on here, but I can't get to it. But you can pretend like you see me, and because I wave my hands a lot. So that's going on. And then Christopher Brazelton's going to be painting people's clothing with an airbrush and with bees and things. And so if you come, bring a plain colored shirt or a jacket or something like that, and he'll spray paint you while you're there with some beautiful designs. So that's really kind of fun. We have lots of stuff for kids going on, things to eat. Our BAT speaker, Bill Haas, is going to be giving a BAT tour, and hopefully I'll get permission from Kitty to do that. But we've done things at night before on the ranch. So this will be an East Ranch, probably be about 7:45 for about an hour. And so there's a riparian corridor there, so he'll give us a BAT tour, and we'll see bats, and so it's very exciting. So he'll be a talk during the day, and then he'll give the bat tour at night. We have a speaker that will be talking about plants and what plants you can put in your garden. They'll keep away those awful little cucumber beetles. And that was the third one. I forgot. We have bee speaker. We have a bee speaker. Okay, in fact, he's at the meeting right now, and he's going to bring a 9-year-old beekeeper. She has 5 hives, and she paints the bee boxes, and she's going to bring some of those. I mean, can you imagine a 9-year-old who has her own little business of being a beekeeper? I mean, I'm so overwhelmed. And then
Claudia, you're amazing. You're
Eden
cutting
wrote
out a little bit.
Eden,
Your cell reception is.
Eden Sook is going to be. I'm just overwhelmed with the talent happening with these young people. So I'm moving here. Okay, is that? Oh, I have so much to say, and I have no, no bars. Oh, it's okay. Now I got 3 bars now. I'm good. So anyway, the event is going to be fantastic. So what I really want to talk about, and please come. It's June 27th, Saturday, June 27th, from 11 to 3. It's going to be on Burton Drive. You can't miss it. We're blocking the entire street off. What I really want to talk about, though, is just briefly, because I know you have busy agenda, is the West End cleanup project. Can you hear me well enough now? Sort of.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's perfect.
Okay. The West End project is a huge project. It is the number one thing that people have asked me to buy Cambria in the last 12 years. You know, what can you do about the mess behind those businesses? So Gene Bronson means he does we have adopt a road on the west end of town, and he's been back there and he's, oh God, Clyde, we got to get this mess out of here. So we're working on getting the mess out of here. I saw that Jim D'Antona's there. Thank you for getting code enforcement involved with it, and we're going to try to find a new home for the fellow who lives back there in a little kind of illegal I don't know, trailer thing. And we're going to get cleaned up back there. As soon as we get cleaned up, then we want to start, with the painting of the back. The man who was the lead muralist for the mural on the post office is going to be doing the drawings. And basically it's going to be trees and bushes and native vegetation, primarily because Caltrans doesn't want us to plant trees up on the highway. So our solution is to paint them on the backs of the buildings. And we're working on getting all the business owners are really in favor of this. Everyone we've talked to. However, the building, owners might, I don't know, we haven't gotten permission from that, except for one. And he's all in favor of it. So, but we're trying to earn money to pay for this because most of I don't know, it's just, something that with the community, we feel the community should really get involved with and help us out. We have had donations already. We're looking for more donations. We had to buy a special kind of paint to do murals with. It's a little bit more expensive than, well, not more, but it's more expensive than some paints. And we had to have brushes. The good part is that we have the Grizzly Youth Academy. I think just the young ladies are going to be coming to do the painting. So the muralist his name's Scott Cam, who did the mural for us on the post office, he is going to do it for free, actually, the designs. However, he wants to get paid gasoline. So we have to find money to pay for his gasoline. And of course, gas is expensive nowadays. So, and it's going to be, somebody sent me a note and they wanted to know how long it's going to take and a bunch of questions like that. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is a long project. This is not something that's going to happen overnight. We're looking at least a year, maybe, who knows how long it'll take, one building at a time. But we just want everyone to know that we're going to do this. We're going to clean it up and we're going to make it beautiful. And people are going to drive down the highway and they go, oh my gosh, I've got to go to that town because look at that incredible mural behind all those buildings. I've got to go see what's going on. So that's kind of what we want to do. I think that we've had reports of people that see the mess back there and they just keep driving because they don't want to go to town. It's all messy. So we want to beautify it and we want to bring more business to our community. So it's a community project. And it's not just West End, it's a community project and it benefits everyone, the people live here, the visitors that come, and the businesses that on all parts of our town. So I'd like to take questions. If anybody has questions about this, I have had some people giving inquiries to me, so I'm ready.
Claudia, I don't see any hands up right now. And that's probably because it's a lot to take in. You and I had that conversation over the weekend that was just really inspiring. So I think, yeah, let's talk and maybe even, I'm sure Karen will put it in the minutes, but maybe if there's some way to kind of break down for the community so they understand really what this is, because even I had questions that I was peppering you with, and how amazing it is and what type of impact is really going to be there. I'm happy to help, and I'm sure, there's more people here that are happy to help kind of craft that and get that word out. So there can be more funds coming in for that. Yeah, you're amazing. And I think nobody has any clue how much work goes into what you're doing. And thank you for doing it. And I also think you should hit up the tourism board. Oh, she leave?
Tina, Brian's hand is up.
Well, I think Claudia bounced. She didn't want to hear,
Oh,
she didn't want to hear the accolades. Let's see if she comes back. Brian, do you want to,
I just wanted to comment before Claudia left that uh, the work she's done and Beautify Cambria has been outstanding over the years, and kudos to her and the organization.
yeah, I agree. So, I think my ask for everybody here is to just kind of put their thinking caps on for how can we best support them and this initiative specifically, because it's a lot of work. And I think it has the potential to do really amazing things for business, which is what we need. So, yeah, that said, and that the street fair sounds like so cool. It would be amazing to get one of those started here.
Oh,
Okay.
thank you. And I'm
Oh,
I'm
oh,
leaving
there
now.
you
I'm
are.
back again, but the connection is too hard. So thank you for the time, and I hope everybody comes to our event.
All
So,
right, and Brian was thanking you, Claudia. All right,
oh,
we'll talk to you later.
okay, thank you,
Thanks
thank
for
you.
all your
Okay,
time. Okay, bye.
bye bye.
Okay, so Karen Chrisman, we are gonna hit on land use. Do you think we do a break? It's 7:20. I think that will, if we're lucky, that'll be the bulk of what we are in store for tonight.
if I were to guess, I would say it might be good to break now.
Right? I feel that too. Yeah. Lisa Murphy,
20.
yes. Okay. All right. So let's do a 5-minute break. Come back at 7:26.
Okay.
And we'll work through land use, and then we'll see if what Matthew and Harry have in store for us and call it a night. Okay, cool. We'll see you in a sec. Okay, let's see if people are back. 5 minutes goes by quick. Here we go. And let's see here. Laura, do we have you here? I can make you a co-host if you want to share.
Heidi Gibson from my office is going to be presenting. So if you can make
Okay,
her,
cool.
yeah.
Okay.
Thanks.
Yeah, of course. Let me see.
Okay, I'm Heidi. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay, and can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so as Laura mentioned, I'm going to be representing Studio 2G for this project, for this review. And from what I understand, this is the second review, and you had some comments. So I will go ahead and go over the 4 main comments that came to us and kind of go over those changes that have been made. So the first comment was regarding the community character and color choices and everything. So we do agree that the white that we had before was a bit reflective. So we've toned down the colors, we warmed them up. We've got now a tan and beige color and a warmer stone color. And you can see this on the elevation here and down here. Visual massing was brought up. As you're aware, this is a down sloping lot. So the street view looking up at the house does appear to be tall. We have broken that up. We worked with the landscape architect to bring in also some street trees to help minimize the view and soften the streetscape. And we've also incorporated more horizontal lines into the design. So as you can see here, we've added some mullions to the windows. We've also incorporated a mullion to go through the wood siding here to continue that horizontal feel. And also the wood siding has been flipped to be running horizontal. And there are some 3D views as well that can kind of show that horizontal, how we've carried the horizontal mullions and the wood siding throughout all elevation sides of the home. Also with the massing, with the downhill slope, there's quite a bit of wedding cake design incorporated to help break up that mass as you on the street side. So elements are stepped back. We've also created a large overhang so that there's a lot of deep shadow lines that will play upon the structure. And I think the other comment was site-sensitive landscape. I mentioned earlier the landscape architect. Let me go to the landscape plan here. Has chosen a species that should not get taller than the building, and it's also a tree species that's easily maintained. And they've incorporated these around to help soften that streetscape corner here. And again, that will help soften the visual look as you're looking at the house from the street. And the last comment was producing scaled streetscapes or a story pole. So we do have incorporated some streetscape images. Here we are. So we've got photos that we brought in to create a collage type streetscape. Unfortunately, we don't have a survey to show what finished floor elevations or roof ridge lines are, but just looking at the Google views, we were able to transpose and create a collage streetscape to help with that massing. And we're hoping that this would suffice. Going through and putting in story poles would just further delay the project. So we were hoping that this would suffice.
Okay, thank you, Heidi. Okay, so I guess I'll work backwards and then wait to see if anybody has their hands up. In terms of well, number one, let me just start by saying we are strictly advisory, right? So we make recommendations and that's it. And then we recommend to approve or recommend to not approve, right? So we are not a decision-making body. So with that said, we try to gather as much information as possible, as accurate as possible, and connect with as many community members as possible to kind of gather information and form determinations. With that said, I've been to the site now more times than I would care to admit. And what strikes me, and I think why we keep coming back to the streetscape, is that in this view, just even if we isolate Whitehall as a streetscape view, the home next door, which I actually think might have a Huntington address, which you see to the left in this image of the proposed residence, actually presents as one story from this view that we would be looking at right now. So I understand that without a survey or some sort of, technical report that we can't get very specific heights that are accurate, but this isn't like at all to scale still. And so I know we need to take a vote tonight so we can, fulfill our duty and allow the county to fulfill theirs. But I just want to say for a project like this, in a a double facing frontage, two-story at the peak of, a hill, it would have been helpful to just really be able to evaluate this based on its like visual merits. And so what I see in this streetscape isn't in any way, shape, or form reflective. Actually, well, if we isolate Whitehall, it isn't in any way, shape, or form reflective of the site. The one for Worcester, and Karen will correct me on how I'm saying that, Worcester? Actually, the one that you guys have recently submitted lands as more of an accurate interpretation of this. But yeah, so I think it's just it's been incredibly hard to really review just based off of that alone. And that's sometimes, kind of where we start. So with that said, I won't hog the floor. Let me see if there's any questions from council members. Ted Key, do you want to go ahead?
Yeah, thanks. I mean, now honestly, on the screen here, I can't really see what's dimensioned. So you get 27 feet above average natural grade, is my understanding.
I think you get 28. Sorry to interrupt, but go ahead.
28, is it 28 feet? Thank you very much. So on this property, and I can't tell what corners are you looking at? I believe the average natural grade is from the highest point on the property to the lowest point on the property. You draw a line between the two, and you have an average natural grade demarcation. So I guess I'm just wondering how, because the questions of height here are coming up. And again, I'm not going to have any say on this, but maybe you can give us some information on that, I guess.
Yeah, Addie's now looking to see. It's We have the maximum and
Oh, I'm sure you do. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
here's
Oh, yeah.
the highest natural grade, average natural grade. It's all marked on the exterior elevations here.
Yeah, I can't read them on my screen. I'm terribly sorry.
Okay.
But and that's okay. I guess I'm just rhetorically asking you the question, from what point to what point did you actually make, use your
Yeah, usually we take on the grading plan, we would take where the footprint falls on the lowest grade, and you take the highest grade, you take the
Mhm.
average of that, and then
Mhm.
you add your maximum height limit to it.
Okay.
So the
So, yeah, so you're talking about the grades of the corner of the structure itself.
correct.
Okay. All right, thank you. That's good to know. Good to know.
Okay, thank you, Ted. Lisa Murphy, go ahead.
I just wanted to go back to also the depiction from the two streets. So if we could scroll to that, that'd be helpful. The stuff that looks like it's off Google.
Oh, the street, the
Yeah,
clocks,
that.
yeah.
So I would say also when you're looking at the Worcester Drive, the house on the left, which is the log cabin kind of looking one, when you're standing in front of where this one will be built, when you're looking across, these are almost like the front yard goes up a little bit, but on this, it makes it look like this two-story thing is going to be a lot lower than that when you're actually on that hill. It sure doesn't feel like that. If the elevation of the base of the front of the building is at street level. And so I just wanted to double check on that. And then from standing there and looking down at the back, which would be southwest corner of the lot, is significantly lower than the street level. I would say somewhere between 15 and 17 feet below the elevation of the street. And when you look at the building down Worcester Street from where this is going to be built, when you're talking about all the retaining walls and stuff there on the back, that building has a stacked rock retaining wall that's, I don't know, 3 or 4 feet high by what appears to be their garage. And then that garage has the ground level is up that same height of the of same height as that stone stacked wall. The ground level is on that, up that building, which means, to get to anyway, it looks like there would have to be a lot of excavation going on the property that would be very close to the neighbors' houses. And then it looks like one of those retaining walls is going to be basically covering the whole first story, all the windows on the first story of that house that I would say is to the south of it on West Hall. So the one you're circling right there is where the stacked wall retaining wall is, but where the wall that's going to be holding up this house is, yeah, we're looking at that the Spanish style house on kind of the south side. If I'm reading all of this correctly, there in all the windows on that side of the house up through the whole first story is basically going to be retaining wall in order to bring up that lower corner of the lot so that you have a flat, in essence, a flat lot to build on. And that whole, oh, nice. Yeah, and this photo is, you can't really tell, but this, on the house, Christina was saying that from standing on the street, it does look like the entrance of the house is on the second story, but that looks like direct entry from to the second story from the street. So it functions kind of from the street side as a one-story house. When you're looking back here, you can see the dividing line between, it almost looks a different color down below, from the top story to the bottom story. And that bottom story is still held up by maybe a 4-foot foundation, 3.5-foot foundation, 3-foot foundation at least in the back corner of that. So it would be 15 feet up to that line right there. And from what I could tell from the street side and kind of just shooting planes across there, it looks like where that line is differentiating between the first and second story of that house is where you're trying to have a flat surface to then build a 2-story house up on top of. And then you can see that this house down here is a I think a garage with a usable attic space on top, and you can see how almost where the roof ends on here is 2 feet below that is level with the road up here. So we're talking, it's going to be a very big process to build that up in order to have a flat surface in which to be entering on the first floor of a 2-story building right here. And it's just going to look enormous compared to everything else in that space. And be a lot of foundation and retaining walls to hold that in place.
Yeah, we have these retaining walls are stepped back quite a good distance here off of the property line. So this first retaining wall here is stepped back at 7 feet. And in the adjacent house, I think this has got a 5-foot setback here. So there's about a 12-foot distance between the two. And this property is very compact. And
Heidi, could I interrupt you for 1 second? It was
Sure.
my understanding, like after re-reviewing the plans, and I could be wrong, so correct me, but is the retaining wall that runs from Worcester, and Karen, correct me if I'm saying that wrong, to down towards Huntington. So
Worcester.
parallel to, no, whoever's saying that, saying it wrong.
Which is it? Worcestershire sauce?
No, Karen will tell us, but we'll handle that later. Stay focused. So from Worcester, and I think Quiet Ted, to down towards Huntington, parallel to Whitehall. Initially, I had the impression that that retaining wall was set back with the setback, but then under further review, it looked like it was actually on that property line. So as you kind of go through this, can you just clarify for us that aspect? So the one that is running parallel to that garage, that little square structure that you see to the left.
okay. So these are terraced walls here. Let's see here. I'll go to the grading plan.
Right.
Okay.
So is that the property line, that dotted line?
This is the property line, correct?
Yeah. So that 6-foot retaining wall is on the property line, not set back from it.
It is on the property line, correct?
Okay, thank you. Just I want to try my best to just keep things clear into the facts as we kind of move through it. So on that side, okay.
This lower one is not I'm trying to tell where the civil has a height on this wall, but this is a lower wall, and they tier and get taller as they tier. It's a terraced wall, and there'll be landscaping in here that'll drape over the walls and whatnot.
Okay, Jeff, do you want to go ahead? I'm just pulling up the plans because I didn't have that same understanding. So do you want to go ahead while I kind of look at the height of?
So yeah, here I've got retaining height 0 here. And then it comes up here. So this wall is actually sloping, and then it comes up to 6 feet here, this back corner. So and then it's 6 feet here, and it's 0 feet here. So the tall part is, let me get a pencil here. So where you have, this is at 0, means that it's at grade. This is at grade right here. And then the wall slopes as you go up to 6 feet, retains the 6 feet. And then as it goes back down to the street, it slopes back down to 0.
Okay, thank you. And then sorry to have interrupted your thought. I just wanted to be clear with people because I think our initial understanding was that the use of the retaining wall would push the property then, whatever setback, so 10 plus 6, so 16 feet back from the property line, but it's actually along the property line. So by the time you get to the house, you're what? You're like 12 feet, you're how many feet from that property line right there? And then you're at any given point 0 to near 12 feet up, right?
Yeah, this is 3 feet here, retaining wall height. And then you slope up to 6 feet here.
So
And
that's
then you
12.
slope.
Is that 12 feet if you're combining the two retaining walls?
It's 12 feet if you combine them, yes, but it's not going to look like it's 12, but because you've got plants here that are going to be cascading over the edge. And then this is at 0, so the landscaping will continue all the way down into this area. And then this is at 0. This is 0 here. This is at grade, and then it slopes up. Yeah, let's go to 3.
Okay, thank you. I think, yes, okay, we'll keep moving through because I have a question on that and then just some feedback from neighbors. So Jeff, do you want to go ahead?
Yeah, the first question is more clarification, but at the beginning you said you didn't have a survey of the property, and I guess I'm scratching my head how you could have a grading plan.
No, we don't have grading, a survey of the neighboring lots in their finished floor elevations or their ridge heights of their roof.
Okay, but you do for your project.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say this is impossible to have and not have done a survey. So, and just to understand the construction process, do you have to over excavate the existing grade and start building a retaining wall there? And what you're showing is the end result of it, of what appears to be 6 feet, or is it actually 6?
Yeah, it is actually 6 from finished grade to finished grade, or existing grade, I should say, to finished grade. And these are Allen block stacked walls. So they're not like you're coming in with a concrete truck and, pouring concrete walls. They're more of also a natural surface, so they're textured.
Does that mean you're going to have like pins or geogrids or something between the layers? I don't know how you have that much retaining stand up.
Yeah, that's why it's tiered. So there's 6. So let me go back to the grading plan here. Yeah, so the finished grade, so down here you're at 6, you're at 0, or I don't know, the 140, and then you come up to 146 right in this area. And the Allen block are, they don't have geogrids that go in. They're just wider bottoms. And they just stack on top of each other. So they will, you would set them here, and then you would backfill, and then you would set the next one, and then you would backfill.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I'm generally familiar with the block. I just don't understand how you could have it all just by the mass of the blocks alone holding it up. But anyway, that'll be for the county's engineers to figure out. Are you going to then have to have, because of the drop from each terrace or tier, whatever you want to call it, are you going to have some kind of handrail or cable rail on each one to keep people from falling off the tops?
No, there'll be dense landscaping all along here.
But doesn't the building code require a fence for 18 inches or more?
Not if it's a space that you're using.
Okay.
We've
okay.
done a house like in Avila
Yeah.
Beach on the cliffs there, and it was not required, no.
Okay.
And there were steeper walls, like 12 feet.
And then just the corner of the house so you've got the double retaining walls, and then you have, it looks like a raised foundation as well to get up to the level you need to for the garage. Is that how much additional?
The garage is slab on grade.
Uh-huh. So how high is that
It's not, you're
foundation?
sloping, yeah, you're sloping down. The garage is, let me see where the finished floor elevation is.
It says 153.
153 right here.
Okay.
So you're at 153, and then
And 140 is the low end of the property, I think.
Okay.
Finished surface 150, say 152. And then also the engineering standards, they limit the slope and the shape of the driveway. So we're kind of limited there. So the garage actually is what sets the elevation.
Okay. So I guess on the aesthetics of it, I do appreciate the work to try to bring in materials that would be softer, because the glaring white was definitely, in my opinion, a little offensive to look at. But I also, picking up kind of where Christina left off, that house that's on the corner of Whitehall and Huntington seems to me takes better advantage of stepping down the grade. Now maybe there's a big difference in the length of the lot that you have to work with.
Yeah, so just as an example, you'll follow the topo. We're not at an advantage where it slopes continuously down, because we slope down right through the middle like this. So like
Right.
this elevation here is the same elevation over here.
Okay, and when you get all finished, how does the drainage get out to Worcester or Worcester Drive?
Yes, we have a lot of areas for it to seep just into the ground, but also you can see the drainage system here. It's going into a detention area, and then it slowly leaks out down here onto Whitehall.
Onto Whitehall? Oh, okay.
Right here.
So you're higher. The ground floor of the house is higher than the corner of Whitehall and Worcester.
So right here you see 151.
Yep.
So that's on the street, and the house is 153. So here's 153 on Whitehall, this elevation. So this is the elevation of the house as well.
Oh, okay.
And then it goes up. and then it comes back down.
Okay, I guess that makes sense. Okay, well, thanks for answering those questions. I guess I'm struck a little bit like just the abruptness of the shape of the house. Um, and maybe it looks different in real life than it does in the images you presented. Um, I've stood out on the site and I recognize it's not the easiest property to build a house, but there's also the little nagging issue of whether when the owners decided to pursue it this way, whether they were realistic about what fit the neighborhood, or whether they just did it with an eye towards what met their personal needs and kind of ignored the neighborhood um, and neighborhood aesthetic. So that's kind of where it falls apart to me. It's not about your work or your attempt to design an adequate house to meet your client's needs, but whether it's appropriate to the neighborhood. So I'm really struggling with that a little bit.
Yeah, no, I understand. Yeah, the neighborhood is definitely eclectic.
Yeah, and I'm not hung up on uh, less modern architecture necessarily, but it is a little bothersome when you have these large wall faces with a flat roof. It just accentuates it all. It doesn't. That's the part that maybe there's some lots where it makes more sense. This one, it's going to stick out pretty predominantly on that corner and be dramatically different than what's immediately next to it.
Thank you, Jeff. I just want to jump in if that's okay. I don't see hands right now. On that point, because I think what continues to be experienced in the absence of a oh, let me turn my camera on. Sorry, I had to get my computer charger. In the absence of a more scaled streetscape view, is the presentation of one story anywhere in terms of compatibility. I recognize that that's not a standard, right? It's a suggestion in the area plans. Um, but but I do have questions on the fill because in talking with the neighbors, and I do have multiple, emails from neighbors, met on site with neighbors, and yada yada, I started looking into fill. And so I recognize that on the downslope, uh, the walls are measured, the height of the walls are measured from finished grade. However, it's my understanding that finished grade is established not just based off of how high you build up a pad, but that finished grade actually technically in Title 23 is established based off of the let's see, fill to conform to the elevation of building sites with that of adjoining developed sites. And so I think that if I'm encapsulating what I've heard from neighbors and the council here tonight and previously, it's that this, even everything, but even the fill doesn't seem that it's conforming with the adjoining developed sites. And so that's where, I mean, among other things, because I do have a list of about 20 goals and shoulds in standards that, I think we could all hope that maybe 5 of would be met. But in terms of actual code, that's where I get stuck. And it's like, how does this project conform to the goals and the intent? And I know we have, everybody's going to have their own interpretation on that, but more specifically, like how are we to interpret that this is just going to be a two-story house that appears larger than 2 stories from both frontages because of what appears to be a, a excessive fill in that back corner that Lisa Murphy was mentioning. And so that's just kind of my comments. I don't know that I really necessarily have a question there, although I am curious to see how that Title 2304-122 is being conformed to. But yeah, so that's my stance. And then I guess I just want to see if anybody else has anything.
Yeah, I'll just also point out that this corner is taller than the finished floor of the house because it's a very difficult lot due to the way it's sloped. So you start up here at 155 and then you come down. So this is taller here. There is so we took the average kind of grade 153 here, which runs right through here, and just so that we can meet conformance to get a driveway to work off of here. So it's so compact and so hard that if we were to really follow the topography, they wouldn't be able to have a house really, just due to the nuances of the way it slopes. So you start out at 155, and then which is 2 feet taller than the actual finished floor of the house, and then it slopes down. So therefore, this is where we located the driveway. It would be the easiest to get a driveway in. And then from off the street to get to the garage level, the garage finished floor pretty much dictates the finished floor for the house.
And I hear you on that. I think just we're like community members. So we're looking at this as like, yes, from an ordinance standpoint, but also from what did the other houses that probably face these challenges, not specifically, but similar to these challenges at the time they were built, decide to do, right? And then, toggling between that and then goals and standards. And so I, in my list of 20 plus standards have keep the physical scale of proposed buildings and site design consistent with site constraints and resources. And so I think, and I don't want to speak for everyone, but what we keep bumping into with this project is like, we keep talking about site constraints, right? And how do you develop on here? And by no means is anybody on this council opposed to somebody developing on this parcel. But I think the question really is, how are we working with these constraints we keep talking about in a way that is reflective of not only the goals, but the standards, and then also what appears to be, the ordinance of Title 23 and finished grade being in conforming to that of the adjoining sites. And I'm just not, I don't know, I'm not seeing that here. Avoid significant exposed excavation or fill slopes, reflect site context and surrounding natural environment with building forms, height
Yeah,
and
so
size of the
let me
house.
approach this at a different angle here. So if we were to try not to have any fill, then if you take the lowest elevation here, which is like at 146.
Just to clarify, I'm not suggesting that this site could be built without any fill. I think that if we go to the topography standards, we talk about minimizing, right? That's B in the North Coast Area Plan, minimizing the extent of excavation and fill on a site. Grading, filling, or site disturbance of existing soil and vegetation shall be limited to the minimum areas necessary. Surfaces and driveways, yada, yada, limited to the smallest functional size and porous materials designed where feasible. So I want to be very clear that nobody is suggesting that anybody could build on this site without fill. However, It's, is it being shown that it's either to the minimum extent necessary or conforming to the elevation of the building sites that are adjoining? Is my question. And that doesn't mean I'm right, but that's where I'm at with my questioning. So, but I don't want this to be misunderstood as that anybody on the NCAC is proposing that this could be built without fill. It's just zero fill and or 12 feet of retaining is a very different, I think that there's room in there for discussion. So, okay, Lisa Murphy, do you want to go ahead?
Yeah, I'm just going to talk from the general feel of it, which is when looking at the plans and standing at the site, what it felt like to me is the goal in this is to get the top story of this house above all of the houses around so that it will get an ocean view, right? And that seems to be kind of the motivator. Can totally understand that. Everybody, would love an ocean view. But with that as what appears to be the goal of when you look at this whole plan of why the driveway is where it is, why the height is what it is that at that height, and because of the way the two houses next to it are built, and because of the topography, the top story of this house will be above the roof line of the nearby houses. And that being said, it is a big blocky structure that doesn't, I can't think of a neighborhood in Cambria that it would fit in, or San Simeon, or, up here as far as this style. This style is not, everything else in the area is peaked roof, different styles, right? Eclectic, you did say, but it is all peaked roof structures in that area. It's all structures that look very much like traditional houses, where this has a little bit more of a office building look to it rather than Cambria house. And being that it feels that the whole top story is trying to be above, visually above the ones around, it is really going to stand out. And from the perspective of visuals and blending, and it just seems very out of place. And then looking at the lot, like, it is a tricky lot. I totally understand that it is a tricky lot, but somebody made the choice to buy this lot to move a water position over to this lot, rather than picking a lot that maybe would be easier to build a house like this on. I'm worried about those retaining walls after standing on the site. First, as you're walking, the ground actually does cave in under your feet, because it's kind of a sandy ish soil, much like it is in my yard here. And the small creatures have made their tunnels through it and stuff like that. So I have a pretty high concern, and I'm not an engineer, and it goes to planning, and hopefully engineers are looking at it and looking at the soils and stuff. But having retaining walls that don't have a footing, don't have any sort of rebar in them, are just stacked. It seems worrisome to me as far as holding up a two-story house on that very inclined slope. So that's just all concerns that I have on a couple of different levels.
Okay, thank you, Lisa. I think that your concerns really mirror the concerns of the neighbors, which, however our recommendation goes, I will include. because there's obviously multiple layers here, neighbor concerns, how we're interpreting neighbor concerns, area plans, goals, intent, and then actual, ordinances, along with all the questions of validity of the meter transfer. So all of that I'll include. But Lisa, you really did sum up most of what we are hearing from the neighbors. I will read out loud while everybody kind of formulates their thoughts. From the neighbor across the street, has been following the project with interest, has growing concerns about the overall scale and character of the proposed development, particularly how it appears to fit with the surrounding neighborhood context. From my perspective, the project feels noticeably out of step with the existing character and pattern of development in the immediate area. I'm also aware of ongoing questions and concerns regarding the associated water meter allocation and the process surrounding it. Given the number of unresolved issues that continue to surface, it seems prudent for all parties involved to slow the process down and ensure that these matters are fully reviewed and addressed before moving further. And appreciates the time, and that, I mean, I feel like that's the best snapshot I can give of that's in an email, I'll include it, but of most of the immediate neighbors' concerns. And interestingly enough, I know there are some places in Cambria where people just really don't want somebody to build on a lot next to them, but these people are all very property owners' rights and very supportive of somebody building within that site. And yeah, so just to be clear that from my perspective, and Lisa, you can correct me, but this isn't a don't build here. It's more of a how do we get this to work with the community character and the area plan. So, okay. Well, Heidi, I don't see any other hands up. Does anybody else have anything else to say? Or Heidi, do you want to share anything else on that point? Kind of understanding better our concerns and the neighbors' concerns. And I understand that what you said about the streetscapes, I still I'm a big advocate for story poles. I don't know how, as even a design build architectural firm, I just, or a property owner, I can't imagine not wanting to see what this structure might be laid out as or look like within a site. But so I'm still gonna push on those. But if there's anything else that you want to share, otherwise, I would ask for somebody to craft a motion.
Christina, this is Paul.
Hey, Paul.
How are you?
Oh, Paul. Okay, Paul's a neighbor. Hey, thanks for being here.
I'm one of the neighbors, and I guess I'm representing some other of the neighbors as a representative of the neighborhood to give some input on this project. First of all, I think these plans are a long way from being finished. Just like the house at Huntington and Whitehall, they didn't use retaining walls. They used the building to retain. So it would be real simple to remove all the retaining walls and extend the exterior walls of this building down to the existing ground and be done with it and make it a much better project, much less impact, and quite honestly, probably a 50% better project. If the walls are required, which I don't think they are, I have a history as being one of the principals in one of the largest engineering companies in San Luis Obispo. So this stuff is all in my heart. I know about it. I know that you can do without retaining walls on this project, but if you are going to include retaining walls, and you need proper engineered profiles of each of these walls. I noticed the architect struggling to get through describing where the walls were, showing what the existing ground is and how its relationship is to top of wall and the buildings. That needs to be part of the plan process. You will have to have fencing on top of the walls. Anything exceeding 42 inches has to have protection. There's no drains between the walls. But most important, I think, just use the building to retain and get rid of these ugly, ugly retaining walls. One interesting point as of the last meeting, I remember, and I'm not sure who was representing the architectural firm at that time. Maybe it was the same person, but that person tried to minimize the effect of the walls by saying the house to the west, the Spanish style house, she didn't think it had any windows that looked at this in the direction of these walls. Well, in fact, that house has 3 glass doors and 8 windows on that side. So that side of the house is going to look into 12 feet of retaining wall. It's a massive, quite honestly, ugly structure with these walls. And I think the whole element of architecture could be reshaped with pitched roofs, get rid of the flat roof concept, change the exterior faces, and step the building down the slope, like I explained in the beginning, and make it much more adaptable to the lot and also to the community. That's all I have.
Thank you, Paul. You could have saved us like 40 minutes. Thank you for sharing. I feel like you put a button on that. I see another hand. Brian, do you want to go ahead?
Yes, thank you, Paul. It's good to hear not only the neighbors, but the community input. And clearly, the community input is negative for this project, both from the standpoint of the retaining walls and the slope, and the look of the place. So thank you, Paul, for what you said.
Right. Thank you, Brian. So I don't see any other hands. I do want to give Heidi another opportunity. Otherwise, I would entertain a motion. Heidi, is there anything you want to clarify that we might be misunderstanding? Or
No, I think I explained the slope of the lot and the where we've entered for the garage. I mean, I do understand the topic of removing the retaining walls. That was something that we did look at. It would just mean that the house is just the house would look taller.
and yes, or yeah, some sort of stepping. I Okay, let me just see. Is anybody so tired of us having this conversation and wants to make a motion, or do people want me to read through my long list of goals and standards that I've put together from the area plans in our coastal zone land use ordinance? Lisa Murphy, do you want to go ahead?
I just have a question clarification on that. So with the motion, are we just looking to a motion of we either approve or don't approve this?
Well, yeah, I
Or
recommend, like, we're just either recommending support for this project or recommending that the advisory council on behalf of the community um, doesn't recommend support or doesn't recommend approval. Yeah.
I
So we're
am
recommending.
happy to, having gone out to the site and having looked over this quite a bit and talking to quite a few people in the community, I would like to put forward a motion that I don't feel that that the neighborhood, the community is in support of this. So I would like to help me phrase a motion that would somebody that would go, I'm happy to put it forward, but I'm trying to find my words for it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I feel like we threw so much out there. Well, I think that let's see. I think, and I have my notes from speaking with the that neighborhood. Um, well, I have two sets of notes. I have that it doesn't satisfy the standards required for approval based off of not only the missing scaled streetscape, but also controversy around the meter transfer, but also that it does not meet the goals intent. And potentially Title 23 for finished grade of our local coastal program.
I would be happy to I would like to make that motion.
Okay, thank you, Lisa. Do I have a second on that motion?
I'll second it.
Okay, do I have any questions, follow-up questions, negatives?
I have a question.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I'm not fast enough to get my hand up.
Go ahead, go ahead.
Since we're an advisory group, we don't have any power and we can't stop this construction.
Yes. Yeah.
Does it make any sense? Is it possible to include in the motion some language that would express how the motion's disapproval of the project could be countermanded? I didn't say that very well.
In what we've gotten is a referral from the county, and we have an obligation to respond to that referral, and we either approve or disapprove the project as it stands. That doesn't mean that the county cannot override it.
Oh, but I think I hear what you might be saying, Karen. It's like, I think all of us have appreciate, well, A, the meeting last month and then the architect coming back this month and making these adjustments, but also that if there were some sort of new information or adjustments, that there might be later support. Is that what you're saying?
I think so. I'm not saying this very well. And Brian, I certainly understand what you're saying. I'm just trying to think about how this could be worded so that, we've already given recommendations that apparently have been addressed somewhat, but not to the complete satisfaction of the land use nerds. And you all know that I mean that with love. So I understand the county can go ahead, the project can go ahead without us. I'm just wondering if we could go on record as saying, we can't approve this as it is, but if they would do this other stuff, if they could possibly address this other stuff, we could change our minds.
Well, don't forget, we also have input from the community, the neighbors around there, and most of that input is in negative to the project.
Well, but
right, Brian. But you know what? And somebody else. Well, and Dane's not here. Somebody else knows this better than I do. But 20 some odd years ago, my next door neighbor on Plymouth was going to go up and back and affect my view. And what I found out from the county was you don't have a legal right to a view.
No, it's a public view, and you're right, Karen.
So I moved.
And you're right in that too.
But I don't want to drag this out longer than
No, I think your point is taken, and I think it might be misunderstood. But Karen, the point that you're making is very similar to what was surprising and appreciated from the sentiment of the neighbors who have all either owned their homes. One was raised there. I mean, for we're talking like 60 to 30 to 60 years these people have lived there, and they're like, we've seen when we moved here, when I was growing up here, there was nothing here, and so they're very used to development, and that's really incredible, so it's not a don't build here, it's a why can't they just build like everybody else did, and kind of work within
and change is hard for everybody.
But I think to your point, that there is a language around that, because as an advisory council that only makes recommendations, it really is appreciated that this architectural firm kind of looked at that and said like, hey, here's, you know, when they're constrained by what their client wants, and this is what we think we can do with it. I think that the major concerns for most are that the two-story appearance from both streets and the excessive fill on the site, creating that flat pad that is discouraged by our area plans. Among, you know, Lord only knows 20 something odd other things. But to your point, yes, I think that that's the whole point in this. We
So
all
maybe the recommendations from last month carry forward, even if the council votes to not approve the project. Is that possible?
Yes, and yes, not recommend approval. Yes, that's possible. And that will I'll absolutely do that, Karen, because I'm with
And-
you 100% on that. I don't want to be a like, no, no, no. I really want for this to just be something that seems consistent with the plans and with what the community character. So
Okay, and you and I will talk later about the language
yes.
of the motion.
Don't forget that the wording that was created tonight from the community members and members of the NCAC should be included in
Oh,
whatever goes
absolutely.
forward.
Yes, and I have there's a document with six, I believe it's like six of the community members, neighbors, and then I have emails and this. So yes, and then Jeff Bloom, I know you're getting tired of having your hand up. Do you want to go ahead?
Oh, I can wait. No, I was what crosses my mind is what I think everyone's fishing for, and particularly Karen, is it the if we use the we don't recommend approval language, then we're just saying, hey, forget it. We don't want this house. What I think where everybody's at is there's these underlying issues that have not yet been resolved. And so I liked actually Lisa's concept of it doesn't have the NCAC support in its present form, which leaves the door open for some redesign. Now, whether the owners choose to try to force it through the county that way, believing that they comply completely, well, they can try to do that. It really doesn't change any authority we have one way or the other on the actual county approval of the project, but I think it may more clearly state, where the community lies on this, that it's not about building a house, it's about building this particular form of a house. What other forms they investigated and all that, we didn't really delve into. It's really kind of irrelevant because they picked this one to go forward with. But I mean, from my vantage point, there were probably several different alternate ways you could design this. Each would have its trade-offs. Maybe it's a trade-off in area, maybe it's a trade-off in height, practicality of the actual building of the house. But I think where we're landing is that in its present form, we just can't support it. And we can attach the reasons we're having trouble with that to that kind of emotion.
I like
and
that. Yeah.
and it would include, the concept of we're not convinced it complies with Title 23 in these particular sections, and we have feedback from the neighborhood that it, doesn't fit the general character of the neighborhood. And it's true what Heidi said, Cambria, when you look at it with a careful eye, doesn't have one singular architectural style. There are other more modern shaped buildings, but it's a big difference if it's an interior lot with houses on either side of it and you're only looking at the front versus this case where it's a prominent corner and the thing is on an elevated site, so it's making it worse, not better. And so I think we could craft what we send to the county accordingly.
Yes, I agree, Jeff. And just for the sake of the recording, I think that what you said is perfect in more clearly stating in this particular form, the House doesn't have support in its current form from the NCAC, and that
Yeah.
there's feedback from the neighbors, questions about compliance with Title 23, and if it's the compatibility with the site.
Yeah.
I like that. Ted Key, and are you
Yeah.
okay if I move on to Ted?
No, I totally agree. Quit beating around the bush. This project as presented does not merit our approval for the following reasons that you've stated. And that's pretty much the end of the story. That means that they can either proceed with this project or they can decide to make some changes to this project. But from what I've been listening to, and of course I don't have a vote on this, but that's what I'm seeing. Either but people are not happy with multiple reasons for this project. So it's just as simple as this. The project as presented does not meet the objections, does not overcome the objections and the criterias that you spelled out here. The end of story, you know? That's
Okay, so
that's
with that,
that's
thank
my
you,
2 cents.
Ted. I love that Ted's now just like cutting to the chase, but earlier it was like the deer. Okay, so is anybody going to oh, we got a second. So now after that discussion, do we have any other questions and or any negatives? Okay, so Karen, you're muted.
Sorry, I'm sorry. I was writing.
Oh, no, you're good. Do you have any other questions or a negative?
Are we voting?
Yes, Lisa
Because
Murphy.
I've said over and over and over, I depend on the land use nerds to help me because you guys understand better than I do, and that's why I asked the question I asked. So, are we voting?
Yes, Lisa Murphy made the motion, the
And
clarification.
Brian seconded. I have that.
Yes, and then I read out the clarification on the verbiage, which encompasses your very well made point of it's more about support in this current form, and that nobody's opposed to something being built on this site, but more so that it's the current form as it's presented.
Okay, so are we voting on
This,
we don't approve unless they address our recommendations, or we do approve, but still with these recommendations? How is it?
we are not recommending approval in because we can't support this project in its current form
Okay,
based
okay.
off of feedback from the neighborhood, compliance issues with Title 23, and compatibility with the existing community.
But we're leaving open
Yes,
an ability for the project to address these concerns.
of course. And I'm sure nobody really cares because
Okay. All right. So wait. Do we still have a quorum? You, me, Jeff, Lisa. I
Jeff,
need one more
Lisa, Chris
person.
Fox,
Brian.
and
Yes, we have a
Brian.
quorum. Yes,
We have
yes,
more
yes,
than a
yes.
quorum.
Yes,
Look
we still have a
at us.
quorum. Okay. So we're voting, yes?
Yes. And we have a motion with clarified language. We have a second. And do we have any negatives? No. So the
No.
motion carries. And
Okay.
Karen, again, I'll get you my chicken scratch.
And you and I will get together offline to talk about the language for the minutes.
Yes.
All right, thank you. I'm muting myself now.
Okay. No. Okay. All right. So we've survived land use. And Heidi and Laura, yeah, just I hope that that's clear, and I want to thank you for the work that you guys have done, because it's definitely appreciated. and I hope that it's understandable, the position that we're in and what we're looking at from a community perspective. And so do you guys have questions, or do you want to just wait for this?
No, we don't have any questions. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Okay, we are not going to take a break. And so that means Harry and Matthew, do you guys want to Rochambeau for what's what at the CCSD time? Harry, do you have something you want to share?
Well, I guess I should give folks an idea as to what happened at our recent board meeting. But first, I want to just make a comment. The discussion on this particular land use item started at 7:28. It's now 8:36. I just thought I'd mention that. Not that you didn't know how much time was spent, but I also want to, if I can just reflect on this, having lived here almost 40 years and seen a number of houses, structures that have been built here, just over on Park Hill, which is what we're talking about. There's a house at the corner of Bristol and Windsor, 304 Bristol, in case anybody's interested, if you want to look at a house that doesn't fit in. And then there's a couple of houses right there on Layton and Windsor. One house at the corner of Layton and Windsor, and then one above it that are, I call them all oversized monuments to the edifice complex. In other words, I can build a bigger house than you do. And these three houses that I just mentioned that don't fit the neighborhood at all have never been lived in full time. And they were built 30 years ago, give or take.
So does that mean you think that the hour we just spent on this item was worth it, or?
Absolutely.
Okay.
No, I just want
I couldn't tell if you were annoyed or like congratulatory that we thought it through.
I want to say this much also, Christina. I was very impressed by how detailed and prepared you were with regard to the comments that you made. You really took this item very seriously. I mean, you take the NCAC and your chair position very seriously, but I just wanted to comment on that. I don't want to comment on everybody's comments too, as well as Lisa and everyone else that spoke.
Oh, thank you, Harry.
I mean, it's really important to keep the neighborhood looking the way it should.
Thank you, Harry, and thank you for sticking it out with us.
Not a problem. I mean, that's why we're here. All right. So with regard to what happened at our board meeting, I'll try to keep it relatively concise. I'm starting at 8:39, so we'll see how I do. All right. So first off, I'm not going to cover everything that we did at the board meeting, but we did approve, okay, a water and sewer inflationary rate increase. In other words, we were just adjusting for how much it's costing the district to provide water for the community due to inflation. So we didn't raise water rates other than how much it's costing us a little bit more because of inflation. All right. We also, I don't know quite how to do this. There's an item I wrote down as much as I could how to explain this to you, and I'm not going to be successful. So I'm just going to read to you what we approved, and General Manager McElhaney can describe it to you in a much better way than I could. So we had implemented, we approved implementation that will ensure full cost recovery where enterprise-funded staff perform general fund work, improve transparency of general fund staffing costs by requiring accurate time tracking and reimbursement accounting, and reduce audit and compliance risk. We approve that. There's no way I can explain it to you. Matt can. So there we are. Also, we approved the third quarter budget. We didn't address the will serve letter with regard to Newhall and Ogden. I know a lot of folks were very concerned about that. We're going to address that next month, get a little bit more detail on that. One of the nice things that we did, We filled the vacant seat on the Fire Protection Committee, Wendy Torrell. She's a 50-year resident of Cambria. She went to Coast Union High School. She worked as an EMT, as a firefighter for the Cambria Fire Department. We had 3 applicants, by the way, for this particular position. And so there you are. Her and her husband have lived here they've had a general contractor's license for 29 years. They've raised their family here. So it's really nice that Wendy Torrell is now on the Fire Protection Committee. And I've known her and her husband for a long time. We also approved the updated water storage contingency plan. And this is basically a revision of what we did in 2020. And this reflects the fact that the district meets current regulatory requirements for providing water to the residents of Cambria as required by the California Department of Water Resources. So it's kind of a minor thing, but then again, it's something that's mandatory every 5 years. So that's what we did. Also, we approved the urban water management plan that we do every 5 years. The last time was in 2021. We had 2 really professional and detailed presentations, one by our program manager, Tristan Reaper, and also by the owner of Mados Water Management. They've been working for the district for decades. I can't remember the owner's name. Her father was actually the person that began Mados Water Management. Her last name is Mados. I can't recall her first name. I think it might be Cindy, but I'm not sure. So this is a 600-page document that they presented to us. I would say there were 3 basic areas that were covered. Number 1 was water use over the recent dozens of years. They provided an abundance of statistics as to how much water was used during this period of time by the residents. I just want to remind folks, for those of you that have been here a long time, or maybe those of you that moved here relatively recently, there was an extreme reduction of almost 40% in water usage by the residents of our community back in 2014 when we had this serious drought at times of 2013 through 2015. The residents of this community in 2014 lowered their water usage 38%. We were the 3rd most efficient community in the state of California with regard to reducing water usage during those serious drought years of that particular time. So also not just water use statistics, but the water supply reliability that they're anticipating moving forward over the next 20 years. And they also projected population increase over the next 20 to 25 years. So one of the things that they reflected upon is currently the high percentage of homes in this community that are second homes, vacation homes, and short-term vacation rentals. So they figure, and I'm not so sure I agree with their population statistics, but they say that, and I know the population, by the way, dropped from 2000 to 2010 and 2020. This is due to the 10-year population statistics that the federal government does.
Oh, wait, Harry, you're talking about years? The population dropped in between
Yes.
2010 to
A population of 6,400 in 2000. The population dropped to 6,000 in 2010, and then 5,600 in 2020.
I can't imagine that many people are living here.
Now,
Feels more like 3,000.
Pardon me?
That's the census data.
Census data.
Federal government.
Okay. I'm like, what? Why don't they volunteer? 6,000, you're 6,000?
So these are the population numbers that they have moving forward. So they figure this year we have a population of 6,038. They assume that the population is going to remain relatively the same through 2030. But then by then, they anticipate that there's going to be approval for either by the Coastal Commission or by the county to increase by 1% the homes being built in our community. So the population increase by 2035, they're anticipating 6,340. By 2040, 6,660. By 2045, 7,000. And then perhaps by 2050, which is a little less than 25 years from now, 7,350. So a population increase of roughly 1,350 people over the next 25 years.
That would cap us at the max?
That's what they're anticipating.
That's probably that, Harry. Is that coming from the consultant or from the county's general plan housing element?
It's from the consultant. The people that have drawn this up.
But they're not just pulling it out of thin air, I'm sure. Most likely the county, the 1% would be the county's cap for growth that the state keeps chipping away at. So to put it in context, I think for everybody, the state requires cities and counties to adopt housing elements on a cycle. I forget however many years, based on the census data. And then they make projections, but there's the push for affordable housing and to bring down housing costs. And eventually that's going to spill over to communities like Cambria that traditionally hadn't had a lot of growth in the form of requirements for growth. So I'm sure the consultants are picking up on that. They sound like big numbers, but they're really not when you look at the population gains in the state. And that's really the problem.
Let me just say this, Jeff. The population statistics that I gave you were the population decrease, and now what they're anticipating increasing. One of the things that they brought up was that, like I said, right now there are a number of second homes, vacation rentals, and so forth. These folks are anticipating that the folks that own these second homes that they don't live in right now and that they're using as vacation rentals, those folks will be moving here as they retire from other communities. That's one of the reasons I believe the population is going to increase.
And I'll follow up on this just to provide some clarity. I don't think it's an anticipation document. It's a planning document that is scenario based. So based on the growth ordinance within San Luis Obispo County, they are doing projections on the what ifs. So what if the moratorium ends? What if we find a new water supply? What if the county of San Luis Obispo approves a 1% growth rate? And then they're projecting out from there. So just so everybody understands, this is not a prescriptive document in which we are adopting this growth tempo. It is a worst case. I won't say worst case because that'll offend some lot owners. I will say this is a scenario-based document to say if these things occur, this is what we will be looking at in the future and how we would have to adjust in terms of water demand. So I think we're all around the same ballpark in terms of what the document is and what it is not, but it is a planning document. So we can forecast if all these things line up, if all the stars align, this is what the scenario would be. That's really what this document is. And it's been done every year in Cambria or not every year, but it's been done, every 5 years. So we're not sounding the alarm that the wait list is getting open, that moratorium's ending, and we're going to full build out. But this document has to do this type of planning for the future in terms of scenario-based planning.
I should probably read this to you. I get kind of fired up about population increase in water and that type of thing. So I'm just going to read to you what it is sent in an agenda item. And I appreciate what Matt just said because he has he gets paid big money because he has a level head. I happen to be on the board. I've lived here almost 40 years. I get fired up about stuff. So the 2025 Urban Water Management Plan, a comprehensive state-mandated planning document that assesses long-term water supply reliability under normal, single dry, and multiple dry year conditions over a 20-year planning horizon. And it says here, the plan demonstrates that the district has adequate supplies to meet projected demands. So there you are. Let me move on to what else we did, because I don't want to take the same amount of time that we did in the past item. We received the auditor's report from Moss, Levy, and Hartzman for 2024-2025. They basically say that the district, things are a little touchy right now, but overall, we're in pretty good shape financially. We also approved the agreement with North Coast Tree Service and Tim Radecki. He's been a local resident here for a long time. This is for the fire hazard fuel reduction program, which means weeding of lots in our community by that haven't been done by property owners. You know, sometimes people don't get their weeding done in time, and then we have to have somebody go in and do it, and then we bill the property owner. So Tim Radecki is going to be doing that work this year. And also, I just want to let folks know that we were very fortunate to get some rain in April because the well levels were slightly dropping in the San Simeon Creek. Now they're just slightly below normal, but they've evened out. So we're in fairly decent shape right now to provide water to the community for the remainder of the season. I think that's it. Matt will now provide his report, and go, Matt. Oh, does anybody have any questions? And I appreciate what Jeff Bloom said. Thank you, Jeff, for your feedback.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. Could I ask, like, maybe something that might be unpopular just because we have Jim here and Harry and Matthew and Jeff Bloom threw some facts at us. And since I've spent more time than I would ever dream of in the North Coast area plan as of late. So I have it up. North Coast area plan, obviously, you know, why we've been arguing for a community plan is because it hasn't been updated in forever. But at the time it was written, and I don't know because the last thing it says revised November 2007. That doesn't mean everything was revised, but it says water is on of the most important limiting factors to growth in Cambria. The CCSD has begun efforts to reduce water demand and to secure a reliable water supply. During the CCSD Board of Directors July 24th, 2003 meeting, a motion by the board confirmed a maximum of 4,650 connections as the ultimate build out of Cambria. This total was based on 3,812 existing connections at the end of 2002, 165 connections in process at that time, and 670 future connections from the CCSD waitlist. This also approximates the number of dwelling units to be served by a proposed desalination project that was the subject of an August 2000 advisory ballot. So my question for you guys, Jeopardy is, and I feel this, and I hear it a lot throughout the community. CCSD says, oh, growth, that's the county determines that. And the county kind of says like, oh no, the coastal commission's kind of who does that. And then, you know, it comes back to CCSD, WRF. No, that's not to facilitate growth. So like, since I have you all here, who is actually in charge of determining whether Cambria can grow or not? Because the North Coast Area Plan Jim's just like, it's the North Coast Area Plan makes it appear as if the board of directors of the CCSD is who said, hey, we can't, here's the moratorium. This is what we have. This is what we could have had, but fiscally took away this. And so this is our ultimate build out. And so, but then I hear rumblings of like growth rates being removed from plans at a county level. Matthew will be the first person to say we're not in charge of growth and that's not dictated by us. So who is it?
So the sarcasm right now, Christina. So I'll say it's two-part. So we're under an existing moratorium that the board established under a Water Code 350 emergency, which stated that we're under a water moratorium. We're not going to issue any more will serves. The CCSD part that is involved in all of this is that we, under that emergency code, would have to establish that we have either replenishment or augmentation of our water supply for us to legally lift that moratorium. Once that is done, if it is ever done, and we have to replenish and or find augmentation, then we could issue will serves, and then the county would establish whether or not we have sufficient water supply to do that. So they would come to us, we would demonstrate or somehow demonstrate that we've done that augmentation or replenishment, and then they would justify or not justify issuing those will serves and determine our growth rate moving forward.
Wait,
So
can I put you on the spot really quick? Because my understanding was,
already done that.
sorry, well, it's my sarcasm, but my understanding was always that it wasn't about replenishment. It was about an additional water supply. And
Well,
to me, those are
the additional water supply is the augmentation or replenishment. So, I mean, the water code has two segments to it. It's replenishment and or augmentation. So, if you find a new water supply, that would be augmentation. The replenishment factor doesn't really work for us because there's no way to really replenish the aquifer because it's so shallow and it goes right out to sea. So there's not a mechanism really for us to replenish that water. So it's the augmentation piece. So if we augmented our water supply, that would be an additional water source.
Okay. Okay, keep going. Let's just say that happened. Who then would say we're opening up the wait list? Or who then would then dictate the growth rate? Jim,
the
I'm
growth.
putting you on the spot. Oh, who else? Jeff?
No, I'm gonna take it over for a minute because this is what I did. The county is in control of growth because we're an unincorporated area. Okay, the district's thing is relative to the supply of water and the treatment of sewage. Those are the two.
We're the purveyor of water.
They're the purveyor of water. So when the county goes to approve its growth standards in its general plan and housing element, which is a part of the general plan, they have to look at water and they have to analyze whether the water supply is adequate to support the growth. On the sewer front, there's an obligation to the district as the sewer provider to start analyzing the increasing of the facility to handle any future growth. And it has to start because it takes so long to build the infrastructure, they're required to start planning new facilities well in advance of needing them. On the waterfront, it becomes really a CEQA issue of whether there is or isn't enough water available to support the development is how it would wash out. And right now, under the moratorium, since the district's the purveyor of the water, they're obligated to provide the water. I mean, that's their purpose in being an agency, is to provide it, not to withhold it. And so I think at some future point, it becomes a political football of, are they doing what they need to do to meet the county's growth requirement? And what I was trying to say earlier is the county isn't in complete control because the state is the one specifying how much housing each local government entity has to build and provide to be in compliant with state law for housing purposes. So it comes as a number. The county does a whole analysis of where they can supply growth, where they can't. Water factors into it a little bit based on what's available, but it just as well it could have been a Tascadero when people's wells started growing dry, that would have reduced the amount of anticipated development in that community. So the county's got this housing element as part of their general plan that looks at the demographics, looks at housing supply. And what the state's saying is none of you are doing an adequate job of delivering housing. So the first thing we got was the ADUs. The only reason that Cambria skated on that was because of the coastal zone. And I would hazard to guess that in the next several years, that'll get eroded away to where that isn't enough of an excuse, and it'll open up communities like Cambria and the others, Los Osos, whatever, to ADUs. And then it'll be up to the county to figure out, well, how can we approve them? And if they put an artificial growth limit, they can get sued by the county to cause them to provide a bigger supply of housing. It's the state taking away the local control and using it to meet the state's housing needs. So the district is just a cog in the wheel of the total growth control and development requirements.
Well,
it's an important one, and
but
it has a voice, but it's not the end voice because we're not an incorporated city.
okay. So, okay. Well, two fronts. Yeah, hopefully by then the state will realize that barely anybody's actually renting out their ADUs. They're like pool houses and illegal vacation rentals. But who, when I look at maximum of 4,650 connections, the ultimate build out of Cambria that's referenced multiple times in the North Coast Area Plan.
That's based on the county's general plan of
So
land
is
use.
can that, in your experience, can that change based off of what?
It will change because developers will come along just like Lamert did in the 70s and say, hey, we have this ranch, we have water, and we want to develop it. But we want it to perhaps, and this is a hypothetical, but we want it to have Cambria Fire, and we want it to have the other services that the Cambria Community Service District provides. And they come up with a water solution, and then they get annexed to the district. And so the district becomes bigger, and they get swept into it because you wouldn't start the county through LAFCO. The local agency formation commission is unlikely to start allowing more communities to be started. The trend these days is to add them to all the existing services. So add them to the cities, add them to the community service districts, not create brand new ones from scratch.
Okay, thank you, Jeff. And then I guess I'll just harass you and maybe Jim
Yeah, you can.
offline because Karen, I think Karen might have just,
Yeah.
we might never see her again. Matthew, I won't be sarcastic. Do you want to give us the rest of your report? And sorry for that, but I think it's really important. And I know it's late and whatever, but we actually had stuff to discuss and nobody understands it. It literally is we don't determine growth. We don't, blah, blah, blah. Trust us. This isn't, da, da, da. And so thank you for that. And
Yeah, it's a good conversation. I just think, um, people don't understand the distinction between a community service district versus a city and what our powers are and not are.
Right.
And, we got Jim D'Antona here who will probably can educate us on that in terms of what the county's role is versus ours. So I think it's a good discussion. I'll make it quick. I'm going to get to the bottom who issued that water meter to the land use. You have my word. I'll get to the bottom of that. I don't know how they got it, but I'll find out. As far as President Farmer's report regarding the enterprise fund integrity resolution, we were just cleaning up some processes in terms of, our permitting gurus for the CCSD are a lot of our utilities folks, and so they've been working, helping us work on some projects that are outside of the utilities. And so, what we're basically stating and codifying by resolution is that we're going to work on making sure the utilities enterprise funds are accounted for and reimbursed for any projects outside of the enterprise fund. So if any general fund work is being done, i.e. the skate park, community park, things like that, where a lot of our staff are very involved in terms of helping with the permitting process, coastal development permits, things of that nature. We'll just make sure that that enterprise fund is, made whole. So that was what that was about. Other than that, I can update you that the notice of an invitation for bids for the skate park went out a couple weeks ago, and we had a mandatory pre-bid meeting this last Tuesday and had 10 contractors show up for that. And so we should be receiving probably several bids on June 8th that will be made available to the public. We have a very important June 16th meeting before the Board of Supervisors for the water reclamation facility regarding 6 appeals. We met with the Coastal Commission on May 7th. The senior environmental scientist, Dr. Holly Hall from the Coastal Commission, came out and walked the site with us. We had some great conversations. I think we both are aligned in the fact that the facility does need to be permitted and that there's opportunities for restoration on some areas that would probably make them. Can you hear me now?
1 second, you're frozen.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes.
You can't hear me.
No, yes, we can hear you now.
Okay. Okay, sorry. Not sure if you heard it, but good conversations with the Coastal Commission. Senior environmental scientist believes that we should have the facility permitted. There's some restoration opportunities on the land out there that would probably make them happy and get us moving forward on the project. So there were some really good conversations there. And I look forward to being at the Board of Supervisors on the 16th and pushing the coastal development permit through, and then eventually working with the Coastal Commission in lockstep to get that facility permitted. And it'll be a good resiliency tool for the community. It's long overdue. And with that, open to any questions.
I have one if I could, Matt. So I think the transparency and the things you've done on the reimbursements to the enterprise funds is a really good thing. Is just for information's sake, is it going the other way too, that to the extent that some of your employees are taking advantage of like personnel or general admin, that the enterprises are reimbursing the district's general fund for the services related to the enterprise funds?
Yeah, that happens through our overhead allocation. So actually, each department will reimburse to admin. Actually, the enterprise fund actually covers a significant amount of general fund overhead. Am I breaking up again?
A little bit.
Am I good?
You are now.
You are now. Say that sentence
Internet connection.
again, please.
The enterprise fund pays overhead allocation to the general fund, and approximately, I think they almost pay $700,000 a year to the overhead allocation to the general fund. So the enterprise to the general fund is generally covered. What's not is some of the general fund activities that might get help from the enterprise fund.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Brian had his hand up. Do you want to go ahead?
I just have a comment for Matthew and for Fire Chief Berkey, who is not here anymore. And this is one I brought up a number of times. But the problem is getting worse. It's access especially in Marine Terrace, but I think overall of Cambria. Um, Access by regular vehicles and especially by fire trucks to pick on Madison, Orlando, and Ardith, and you name any number of streets. Especially now with construction going on, it's almost impossible for even a regular vehicle to get through some of these areas, and it's definitely impossible for a fire truck. And in the old days, we used to have fire trucks going through every so often, and they would cite people and put a sticker on your windshield for your impeding traffic flow. But we don't do that anymore, and I guess there are probably all sorts of reasons why we don't do it. But in any case, it's become very difficult to get through, even with a private vehicle, much less a fire truck. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say.
No, I appreciate that. And something that can be done with there is contacting the CHP, and you can contact the fire department to get a hold of the fire chief, and the fire chief can come and actually cite them, ask them to move the vehicles. The problem is that we don't have a lot of control over the roadways in terms of our powers as a CCSD, but when it comes to fire protection and public safety, we can lean on the highway patrol and we can lean on the fire chief to have those vehicles moved, towed, and things of that nature. The problem is our bandwidth and our staffing levels don't allow us to patrol those areas unless we're notified, you know.
Yeah,
So,
sure.
but yeah, we're aware of it and appreciate it.
Okay.
If
Thank
I
you.
could jump in, Darren, the Commander Januso at the Highway Patrol has been really amazing and open to working on that. And Chris Fox, I know might be the next iteration of her volunteerism, and Cambria is very passionate about figuring out solutions for the roadways. And not just in terms of an evacuation, but like you're saying, for an ambulance and things of that nature. So, yeah, I think more to come on that, but I think it would be good for everybody to be on a little chat about that. Okay, I don't see any other hands. Mr. Matthew, do you have anything else for us, or can we?
No, I think I've said enough. Unless,
I'm
unless you want to set me up for more pitfalls.
sorry. It's
Water
just been
use.
like building, and then I was in the North Coast area plan, and I'm like, why is it?
I mean, should I open up the wait list? Like, what do you want me to do?
It's like, gotta ask. And thank you. Okay, so are we done? Because Kermit's out of the country. Um, yeah, I think we're done because Cecilia's not here and Kermit's gone. Satisfied?
You should at least ask for new business. And I dare anybody to say you've got some.
New business is the nonprofit fair happening this Saturday at Pine Dorado Grounds. Come and visit 40 plus nonprofits, BCSD and fire department, Mexican food, dancing, goats, and come to see how a community is actually able to operate under no growth and financial constraints. Thank you. Everybody good?
Okay.
Thank you for sticking around.
9:15, and we still have a quorum. Let's talk some more.
I know. It's important. It's once a month. All right.
I know. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Nighty night.
Night. Karen is